Chapter 48, Chapter 48, What kind of terrifying expert is this? _I. Chapter 48, What kind of terrifying expert is this? _I. I think we should report this matter to that person. Daoist Xingyun said as he took out a crystal ball from his sleeve. The crystal ball faced the battle in front of him and dripped a drop of his blood essence. The crystal ball emitted a blood-red light. The light lit up, and the figure of the man in the skull mask appeared on the screen. Could it be that you've already found that expert from Daong Town? The skull-masked man said slowly in a low voice. There was no sadness or joy in his voice. It was impossible to tell if he was happy or disappointed. No, sir, we found two terrifying existences. Perfected Zhongxian's voice trembled slightly as he spoke. Then, the scene changed. Within the crystal ball, the scene of the black tortoise and the phoenix fighting appeared. Phoenix. Black tortoise. As the scene changed, the skeletal man's voice finally fluctuated. Through the crystal ball, Perfected Zhongxian and the others saw the skeletal man in front of them. He was originally sitting, but now, he had already stood up. He was obviously shocked. What is this place? The skeletal man asked in a deep voice again. In just a moment, he calmed down and his voice returned to its usual emotionless tone. This is outside Daong Town. The nearby Immortal Jade City hurriedly replied. All right, wait here. I'll bring my men over immediately. On the screen, a black shadow seemed to have appeared behind the skeletal man and was about to leave. But suddenly, the scene in front of them made them gasp. They saw a handsome green-robed man with a slightly angry expression on his face. With two slaps, he slapped the black tortoise and the hen on their heads. I thought you two were captured by someone and actually came here to fight. Xiao Changtian scolded angrily. Black tortoise and phoenix lowered their heads instantly. The turtle retreated into its shell, and the hen quickly squatted down, pretending to be well-behaved. In fact, when Xiao Changtian was about to arrive, they had already put away their dharma forms. When Xiao Changtian arrived, he saw a green-haired turtle and a hen biting each other. The ground was covered with chicken feathers. A few pieces of skin had fallen off the turtle's shell. Alpha stood at the side, as if he had sensed something. His gaze was stern and filled with deterrence as he instantly looked in the direction of Perfected Zhongxian. Not good, explode. From the voice of the masked skeleton man in the crystal ball, it was obvious that he was panicking and chanting an incantation. In just an instant, the crystal ball in Perfected Zhongxian's hand exploded. At that moment, the crystal ball turned into a wisp of black gas, as if it had escaped from this space and disappeared in the blink of an eye. This. My lord. Seeing this scene, Perfected Jade Cheng and the other two were directly scared silly. Even that lord ran away in a panic when he saw this person in front of him. What about them? Should he run? They really wanted to run, but the heaven-swallowing dog's gaze locked onto them. A terrifying aura made them feel like they were stuck in a quagmire, unable to move. Even the true essence in his body seemed to have been suppressed and could not be used at all. You green-haired turtle, you're quite bold. Xiao Changtian looked at the green turtle and said angrily, then kicked it. This scene was seen by the three of them, and their bodies trembled. This is the black tortoise. This person actually dared to kick the black tortoise, and it was so easy. What kind of terrifying expert was this? What kind of terrifying existence was this? They wanted to escape, they wanted to go home. At this moment, the three of them had the same thought in their hearts. And you, old hen. If you cause trouble for me again, I'll chop you and the green-haired turtle up and stew them into soup. Xiao Changtian glared at the hen and said fiercely. As an animal warden, he was very clear about the nature of these animals. He had to teach them a lesson so that they would listen to him in the future. Hearing Xiao Changtian's reprimand, the old hen shivered and squatted even more obediently. As for perfected Zhongxian and the other two, they were so frightened that they shrank behind the huge rock and did not dare to move. Come back with me, then we'll go to the Great Sun Sect. Xiao Changtian said impatiently and brought the turtle and the hen home. It was not until Xiao Changtian left that the three of them felt the terrifying aura that enveloped them disappear. Whoosh! The three of them panted heavily. Their bodies were covered in sweat, and even their precious clothes were wet. Shall we run? Perfected Jade Qing immediately fled. No, we can't run. If we run now, all that awaits us when we return is death. I don't need to tell you about that lord's methods, right? Daoist Zhongxian was also panting heavily, but his expression had already darkened. Clearly, he was calmly thinking about the problem. Then what should we do now? He couldn't possibly go to the Great Sun Sect, right? This expert is even more terrifying. Xiong Qing asked in astonishment. Now, the three of them were in a dilemma. That's right, if we go to the Great Sun Sect, we will die. Daoist Beishan said. No, if we go to the Great Sun Sect, we still have a chance of survival. Daoist Master Zhong Xian's expression was firm. His bright eyes shone brightly. His brain was working rapidly as he thought about the current situation. Yes. We have to go to the Great Sun Sect. That senior didn't kill us. Otherwise, with that person's methods, the three of us would only be a matter of him moving his fingers. However, since that expert didn't touch us, it means that we still have a chance of survival. Daoist Master Zhong Xian analyzed the situation step by step, his voice calming down. The two people next to him were also sect leaders. Otherwise, they would not have been used by the man wearing the skull mask. Soon, they reacted. Right, we have to go to the Great Sun Sect now. This is our chance. As long as we obtain the protection of that senior, we can live. The three of them looked at each other and nodded before heading towards the Great Sun Sect. He returned to the entrance of the small courtyard. Xiao Changtian saw a man in a long robe pacing back and forth in front of the school gate. He was holding a sword in his hand. The symbol on his clothes was a ball of flame. It was someone from the Great Sun Sect who came to receive him. Xiao Changtian smiled faintly and went up to him. Little brother, I'm here. Something happened and I was delayed. Hearing Xiao Changtian's voice, the man turned around and was overjoyed. Chapter 49, Senior, This is Our Fault, 1. Chapter 49, Senior, This is Our Fault, 1. That's great, Senior. You're finally back. I'm Xingyun, the disciple of the Great Sun Immortal. Xingyun was delighted. He had already heard about what had happened in the sect through True Qi voice transmission. The disciples of the Middle Sage School had already surrounded the mountain gate. The two sides had even started to have friction. A junior brother was beaten up and suffered some superficial injuries. The Great Sun Immortal sent a message, asking Xingyun to invite the senior to the Great Sun Sect. Only the senior in front of him could suppress the commotion. Senior, can you follow me to the Great Sun Sect now? Xingyun cupped his fists and bowed respectfully. Sure. Wait for me to turn that thing over. Xiao Changtian nodded. He had a good impression of Xingyun. This Xingyun seemed to be of the same age as him, but he didn't have the arrogance of an immortal cultivator at all. He even called him senior because he knew the Great Sun Immortal. There weren't many young people who were so humble and polite. I'll wait for senior here. Xingyun stood respectfully outside the door and replied. All right. Xiao Changtian nodded. He had wanted Xingyun to call him Brother Xiao, but when he saw Xingyang's eyes, he seemed a little anxious. After thinking about it, it was indeed true. Originally, he would have set off long ago at this time. However, because of this green-haired turtle and the big hen, so many things had been delayed. Hence, he quickly walked into the room, took the Nanming Ignis painting, and walked out again. Alright, let's go. He had already handed over everything in the small courtyard to Yi Fan. He originally wanted to tell Mu Jiuhuang, but when he saw Mu Jiuhuang sitting on the stool in a daze, his eyes were lifeless, as if he had something on his mind, he didn't tell Mu Jiuhuang. Yes, I am. Senior, please board the Great Sun boat. Xingyun respectfully took out a flying magic treasure and chanted an incantation. In an instant, the flying ship that was laughing with his hands instantly enlarged. It looked as big as his small courtyard. Xiao Changtian was shocked when he saw this. He had only seen flying magic treasures before, but the feeling of being so close still shocked him. Then, he stepped onto the flying boat. Xingyun controlled the flying boat and flew towards the Great Sun Sect. In a quarter of an hour, the two of them arrived above the Great Sun Sect. Xiao Changtian looked down and saw the Great Sun Sect. Palaces were scattered everywhere, and spiritual qi rose with a scorching temperature. Even if one was riding on a spirit ship, one could feel it. However, at this moment, there seemed to be an argument going on below. Let's go down and take a look. Xiao Changtian said to Xingyun. Right in front of him was the gate of the Great Sun Sect, and he needed to enter through the gate. Yes. Hearing that Xiao Changtian was going down, Xingyun was instantly overjoyed. He had just thought of controlling the spirit ship and bringing Senior directly to the hall. Since Senior said to go down and take a look, it meant that Senior was prepared to make a move. Xingyun had already received information from the Great Sun Immortal about Xiao Changtian's identity as a peerless expert. With such a master taking action, even if the Zhongxin school wanted to cause trouble, they would have to stop. Very quickly. Xingyun landed the spirit ship and Xiao Changtian followed him. He saw more than 10 people arguing with the Great Sun Sect disciples. After listening for a while, Xiao Changtian instantly understood that these people wanted to pick on him. I say, the few of you know the basic rules of being a guest, right? Coming to someone else's place and not paying attention to etiquette, what kind of logic was this? Xiao Changtian couldn't stand it anymore. These people were just creating something out of nothing and picking on people. What kind of person was the Great Sun Immortal? He did not neglect any of his etiquette when he visited his own small courtyard. As a guest, he had to speak up for the Great Sun Immortal. Who the fuck are you? The disciple of the Middle Sage School who was the first to be picky was slightly embarrassed when he saw Xiao Changtian suddenly speak up. Then, he became furious and was about to curse at Xiao Changtian. Pa! Suddenly, the crisp sound of a slap rang out. This slap sent the disciple who had caused trouble directly to the ground. Who dares to hit me? The disciple who had caused trouble was instantly enraged by the sudden slap. He immediately jumped up and drew his sword, wanting to kill. However, the moment she jumped up, she was stunned. Sect Master. The disciple who had stirred up trouble was dumbfounded. Why did the sect leader hit him? Sect Master, I've been holding you down. Pa! The disciple wanted to explain, but another slap came over in an instant, directly knocking the disciple who caused trouble unconscious. Perfected Zhongxian was scared to death. As soon as they arrived, they heard Xiao Changtian speaking to Great Sun Sect. How could he not understand that Xiao Changtian had a relationship with the Great Sun Immortal? Fortunately, this disciple did not say anything about his arrangements. Otherwise, Zhongxian School would not exist today. This senior in front of him was not someone he could offend. Daoist Zhongxian hurriedly apologized. I'm sorry. This is a disciple that I've taken in under my wing. I'm used to not being polite. I forgot not to blame you. You shouldn't apologize to me. You should apologize to the Great Sun Sect. Xiao Changtian nodded his head. This person in front of him had some manners. What? You want our sect master to apologize to the Great Sun Sect? Are you crazy? A disciple said disdainfully. His Zhongxian sect was a first-class sect. A first-rank sect could destroy the Great Sun sect with a wave of their hand. In their eyes, the Great Sun sect was no different from an ant. Now, they had to apologize to an ant. However, just as he was about to mock him, before he could finish his words, the voice of perfected Zhongxian sounded. "I'm sorry, I apologize to the Great Sun sect on behalf of Zhongxian sect." Perfected Zhongxian apologized to the disciples of Great Sun sect. When the Great Sun sect disciples saw this scene, they were all extremely shocked. This was perfected Zhongxian, a powerhouse in the Tribulation Transcendence realm. He could destroy them with a flip of his hand. However, it was such an expert who actually apologized to them. Hiss. The Great Sun sect disciples present were all extremely shocked. In just a few moments, they all reacted. The reason why Daoist Zhongxian apologized seemed to be because of this person in front of him. Moreover, they could feel that at this moment, perfected Zhongxian had restrained his aura. Even the two sect leaders looked at Xiao Changtian with respect. Could it be that this person in front of us is the expert of our Great Sun sect that the sect master mentioned? Chapter 50, Another First-Rank Sect. _I. Chapter 50, Another First-Rank Sect. _I. In an instant. All the disciples present understood and were shocked. Their eyes were all on Xiao Changtian. Strange, why can't I feel any spiritual energy fluctuations from this senior? It's like he's immortal. This. Could he really be immortal? This shouldn't be the case. If it's true, it's just immortal. How can it be possible for the Taoist Zhongxian to apologize? Shu, don't speak anymore. Senior's realm must be the legendary return to simplicity. His cultivation is too terrifying, far surpassing that of a tribulation transcendence expert. That's why we can't sense Senior's pressure. The disciples of the Great Sun sect looked at Xiao Changtian in confusion and communicated with each other through Xingyun voice transmission. However, as soon as they were told that it was because their cultivation realm was not high enough, it was difficult for them to sense the cultivation of their seniors. They all fell silent and did not dare to speak again. "Senior, please enter." Xingyun made an inviting gesture, extremely respectful. Previously, he had only listened to his master's solemn instructions, so he did not dare to offend him and behaved extremely respectfully. But now, he saw that Xiao Changtian was able to make the three of them keep quiet out of fear just by standing there. He was extremely shocked. He originally thought that he was a tribulation transcendence expert, but he did not expect that he had far surpassed the tribulation transcendence realm. Yes. Xiao Changtian nodded and followed Xingyun into the Great Sun sect. Behind them, perfected Zhongxian and the other two hurriedly instructed their disciples not to cause trouble in Dayang town. If a brick or tile was destroyed, they would have to pay 100 times the compensation. Sect Master, why? That person just now is just immortal. Why are you so respectful to him? The troublemaker disciple woke up at this moment and asked in confusion. Shu, don't talk about this anymore. That senior is a peerless expert. Killing me is like killing a chicken. Daoist Zhongxian said solemnly. What? Upon hearing this, countless disciples were incomparably shocked. The sect master was an expert in the tribulation transcendence realm. He could easily kill the sect master. Was it the rumored Mahayana realm? Hiss. Everyone present sucked in a breath of cold air at the same time, causing the surrounding temperature to rise a little. He hurriedly nodded and noted it down. Under Qingyang's lead, Xiao Changtian soon arrived at the square of the competition. The square of the Great Sun sect's competition was extremely simple. The arena was made of countless red wood and was extremely popular. You're here. The Great Sun Immortal was sitting on the cloud platform. He saw Xiao Changtian at once. He flew down from the cloud platform in a hurry and bowed to Xiao Changtian respectfully. Daoist Big Sun, you're too polite. Xiao Changtian helped the great sun Immortal, who was bowing and paying respects to himself, up. This perfected De Yang was really too enthusiastic. Senior, follow me to the cloud platform to observe the ceremony. The great sun Immortal said with a delighted expression. He made an inviting gesture and pointed at the cloud platform floating in the air. Xiao Changtian raised his head and looked at the cloud platform in front of him. It was dozens of meters tall. How was he supposed to go up? Even if he went up, he would definitely be smashed into pieces if he fell from such a high height. No, I'll just find a place to sit. Oh right, this is a congratulatory gift for you. I didn't have anything to give him, so I randomly chose a painting. Xiao Changtian shook his head. He couldn't fly, so how could he fly up to the cloud platform? Moreover, he still wanted to open the path of invincibility. The experience of sudden death in his previous life told him that if he did not seek death, everything would be much safer. At the same time, he took out a painting that he had obtained from the pavilion master of the secret pavilion. Is this for me? Seeing Xiao Changtian hand over the painting, Daoist De Yang was overjoyed. Senior's item was a supreme divine item. Even if it was just a painting, it indicated that there was at least some fate between Senior and the Great Sun Sect. In the future, if the Great Sun Sect was in danger of being destroyed, perhaps he could ask Senior for help. Thank you. The Great Sun Immortal solemnly put the Nanming Ignis painting into his ring. He planned to observe it slowly at night. At this moment, Zhong Xianjun and the other two also walked in with a group of disciples. Seeing these three people, the Great Sun Immortal's heart tightened. These three people were experts in the Tribulation Transcendence realm, and they gave him a lot of psychological pressure. However, when he looked at Xiao Changtian beside him, he finally calmed down. There was nothing to worry about with a peerless expert here. Therefore, the Great Sun Immortal went up and was about to greet the three of them. Big brother Big Sun. Hello, Big brother Great Sunday. The three of us did something wrong previously. Just now, our disciple caused trouble in your Great Sun sect. Don't worry, after the competition, I will definitely compensate your sect. Perfected Zhong Xian and the others looked at Perfected De Yang with a smile on their faces. Their tone was extremely respectful and their postures were extremely humble. Whether or not they could have a relationship with Xiao Changtian now depended entirely on Daoist Big Sunday. They were willing to call him brother. Even if they called him something else, they would call him brother on the spot. This Daoist Big Sun looked at the three people who were extremely enthusiastic and was dumbfounded. What was going on? When he was still a little tadpole, these people were already overlords. Now, they actually called him elder brother. However, immediately after, the Great Sun Immortal's eyes turned and he instantly understood. These people must have seen that he had a good relationship with his senior, so they came to get close to him. Welcome, sect leaders. The Great Sun Immortal also said with a smile. As the saying goes, one should not hit a smiling person. The few people in front of him were all experts in the Tribulation Transcendence realm. If he could not offend her, it was better not to offend her. The Divine Sound Sect has arrived. The Blue Cloud Sect has arrived. The Beast Tamer Sect has arrived. At this moment, a loud voice sounded as Perfected Xingyun, Lian Shignian, Chu Quangren, and the others brought their sect disciples over. Hiss. Another 3 first-rank sections. What happened today? Why were there so many experts here? The name of the sect was the first grade of the sect, and the beast-taming sect seemed to be from Nanbuzu, right? Cries of surprise rang out in the square. These Great Sun sect disciples had never seen so many first-rank sects before. Looking at the experts who were usually elusive and only existed in rumors, countless disciples felt their hearts about to jump out of their chests. The three of you. The great sun Immortal was also drenched in cold sweat. What was he doing? How could the small great sun sect attract so many of them? Although he was puzzled, the great sun Immortal still hurried to welcome him. After all, these people were existences that he could not come into contact with on a daily basis. However, before he could finish his sentence, he was stopped. Chapter 51, There are actors, but I don't think the report was successfully. Chapter 51, There are actors, but I don't think the report was successfully. Perfected De Yang, there's no need to be so polite. Lian Shanin, Chu Guangren, and perfected Xingyun were all smiling as if they had met an old friend. The great sun Immortal was overwhelmed by the unexpected favor. Fine beads of sweat rolled down his forehead. The three of them were also in the Tribulation Transcendence realm. The Xingyun sect and the Divine Sound sect were both famous figures in the northern wilderness state. These three experts were actually so polite to him, a mere nascent soul realm cultivator. He was instantly overwhelmed by the favor. What's going on? These sect leaders actually had sect leaders as fellow Daoists. Wasn't this too inconceivable? I heard that recently, perfected Xingyun and the sect master of the Divine Sound sect have both obtained an opportunity and broken through to the 5th level of the Tribulation Transcendence realm. The 5th level of the Tribulation Transcendence realm is so terrifying. The disciples of the Great Sun sect discussed among themselves with disbelief on their faces. Under everyone's shocked gazes, perfected Xingyun and the other two looked at perfected Shan and the other two with question marks before they arrived in front of Xiao Changtian. Then, the three of them bowed heavily. Senior. The three of them were respectful from the bottom of their hearts. Perfected Xingyun and Lian Shgnyan's eyes were filled with gratitude. If it weren't for their senior, the two of them would have been separated by yin and yang. From then on, they would be separated from each other. However, it was precisely because of senior's guidance that he was able to break through in a short period of time. Not only did he survive, but he also took revenge for killing his master and reunited with his family. It's you guys? Xiao Changtian smiled. He knew these people. Perfected Xingyun's cultivation wasn't very good, but he liked calligraphy. This woman liked many things. Not only did she have some attainments in painting, but she was also good at music. As for Maniac Chu. Old Chu, you're a little unkind. Did you give birth to your daughter? You've been away from home for so many days. At least send someone to look for you. Xiao Changtian looked at Maniac Chu with a gloomy face. Fortunately, one of them was in his own small courtyard, so nothing would happen. No one knew what would happen to Chu Yiren if she ran into some bad guys with evil intentions. I know that my daughter is in senior's residence, that's why. Maniac Chu wanted to explain. The damage caused by the Iron Eater was too great. The Beast Tamer sect was still in the midst of reconstruction. As for Chu Yiren, he knew that he had to find Xiao Changtian. Therefore, Maniac Chu did not stop him. It would be Chu Yiren's fortune if her daughter could be by the side of such a senior. Maniac Chu had been worried that his senior would despise Chu Yiren, but after so many days, Chu Yiren was still in his senior's courtyard. Furthermore, Chu Yiren had broken through 5 levels recently. It had only been half a month. If this had happened in the past, it would have been something that he would not have dared to think about. Maniac Chu felt that his daughter's actions were correct. Alright. Since I've met you, you can bring your daughter home after the grand tournament hosted by the Great Sun Immortal ends. Xiao Changtian said lightly. What? Maniac Chu was shocked. Was senior trying to chase her away? He hurriedly wanted to fight for Chu Yiren. If he could follow his senior, Chu Yiren's future and even become a martial monarch realm expert was possible. However, just as Maniac Chu opened his mouth, Xiao Changtian's face darkened and he frowned. Wasn't this Maniac Chu a little too unsuitable to be a father? You must bring your daughter back. If she wants to come back to the small courtyard to play, you are welcome to come back anytime. But you're her father. Her home isn't here, understand? Xiao Changtian said in a deep voice. In fact, he was also reminding Maniac Chu to educate his daughter properly when he returned home. Otherwise, how could she marry someone she caught? Yes, sir. Seeing Xiao Changtian frown, Maniac Chu's heart skipped a beat. He shivered and quickly agreed. After exchanging some pleasantries, the great Sun Immortal announced the start of the grand competition. The first match. The troublemaker disciple from the Zhongxian school went up against Xingyun. Humph, I don't believe that senior will fight in the arena. The disciple of the Zhongxian school stared at Xingyun, who was only in the foundation establishment realm, with a vicious expression. Previously, he had been beaten up by the Sect master and was holding back his anger. He wanted to fight back on the arena. On the other hand, Xingyang's expression was grave. Although the disciple in front of him was only an outer disciple of Zhongxian school, his strength was definitely in the golden elixir realm. Furthermore, he was in the perfected golden elixir realm. If the great Sun Immortal had not broken through, there was a high chance that he would not have been a match for this Zhongxian school outer disciple. However, Xingyun was fearless and just went all out. With senior here, the great Sun sect was as stable as Mount Tai. However, these small matters could only be handled by the great Sun sect. Please. Xingyun knew that he would definitely lose, so he was already fearless. He drew his sword and circulated the great sun technique, causing his body to heat up and flicker with red light. Humph. The disciple of the middle sage school grinned with disdain. He did not put a mere foundation-building cultivator in his eyes at all. Immediately, a faint silver light lit up on his fist. It was like an iron wire that surrounded his fist. The strength of the golden elixir realm was completely accumulated in his fists. It didn't look as flashy as Xingyang's. Xiao Changtian naturally thought so too. Xingyun won. Xiao Changtian said lightly. The red light around Xingyun was the rumored spiritual power cultivated by cultivators. As for the disciple of the Zhongxian school, his fist was surrounded by a silver light. Could these two people be on the same level? The disciple of the great Sun Immortal was still the best. Xiao Changtian sighed in his heart. Fortunately, the great Sun Immortal had a good character. It was a blessing for the great Sun town to have such an expert. Eat my punch. On the arena, the disciple of Zhongxian school was already preparing to make his move. Xingyang's expression was tense as he brandished his sword, sending out a burst of fire. However, facing the punch of a golden core expert, he knew that he would definitely lose. Therefore, he closed his eyes and waited to be sent flying out of the arena. Bang! Instantly, a loud bang was heard. Xingyun opened his eyes again. The scene in front of him stunned him. He's acting as me. Xingyun looked at the Zhongxian school disciple who had collapsed outside the arena and frowned in disbelief. They could feel that he was bound to fly out under that punch. However, when the fist was only 3 inches away from him, all the power in the fist was withdrawn. Then, it flew over and collided with his sword, directly falling out of the arena. It was obvious that this disciple of Zhongxian school was acting as him. He really wanted to report an actor, but he felt that his report would not be successful. Chapter 52, Senior, I don't want to leave, 1. Chapter 52, Senior, I don't want to leave, 1. The disciple of the middle sage school flew out of the arena with a sullen expression. Just as his fist was about to knock Xingyun out of the arena, perfected Zhong Xian suddenly sent him a Xingyun voice transmission, wanting him to lose. Helpless, he could only withdraw his primeval essence and pretend to be defeated by Xingyun. Sect Master, why is this? The disciple was unwilling to give up. He was in the golden elixir realm, so it was easy for him to deal with a mere foundation establishment cultivator like Xingyun. However, he was defeated. If this were to spread out, where would the face of the people of the world go? I'll tell you about this later. Perfected Zhong Xian said in a deep voice with a calm expression. At the same time, he also ordered all the disciples of Zhongxian's sect to admit defeat if they encountered any disciples of Great Sun sect. He had just sat beside Xiao Changtian. Naturally, they heard Xiao Changtian's muttering. Wasn't the senior reminding them that Xingyun would win? How would they dare to disobey? He instantly arranged for his disciples to pretend to admit defeat as long as they fought against the Great Sun sect disciples. Thus, the following competition became one-sided. All 6 of them pretended to be defeated by the disciples of Great Sun sect. This caused countless Great Sun sect disciples to be dumbfounded. They realized that the other side was acting them out. But they couldn't report it. Daoist Big Sun also looked embarrassed. If this matter were to spread, wouldn't the 6 experts who were transcending the tribulation lose face? Today's grand competition will end here. Everyone is just exchanging pointers, not truly fighting to the death. In the Great Sun Hall, a banquet has been prepared to entertain everyone. Daoist Big Sun hurriedly stopped the competition. He did not dare to continue. Xiao Changtian saw this. He was extremely emotional. Perfected Great Sun is still powerful. Even his disciples are so powerful. Unfortunately, I don't have any talent for cultivation. Xiao Changtian's blood was boiling as he watched this competition. He wished he could go on stage personally and exchange a few moves. However, the system did not give him cultivation, which was very uncomfortable. Under the guidance of the Great Sun Immortal, Xiao Changtian, perfected Xingyun, and the others arrived at the Great Sun Palace. The interior of the hall was extremely prosperous. The walls were adorned with red crystals that emitted a warm energy. Is this the palace of the cultivation world? It's really impressive. Xiao Changtian compared this place to his own courtyard and sighed in his heart. At the same time, in the dark chamber, the man wearing the skull mask was like an ancient stone statue. He stood rooted to the ground, and the black shadow behind him did not move at all. Until night fell. Only then did he seem to come back to his senses and slumped down on the chair. How is that possible? After the fallen emperor era, why are there still such experts? How did he come back to life? He's definitely some old monster. The skull-masked man's voice became ferocious, like fingernails rubbing against glass. Moreover, his voice was extremely hoarse, causing the entire room to sound like a ghost crying. His tone was extremely surprised. After saying that, he took off his mask. Through the dim light, one could vaguely see what kind of face it was. There was no nose, eyebrows, eyes, mouth, or even ears. He didn't have any facial features on the human body. His entire face was a bloody mess, and there was a force swimming around as if some bug had crawled into his body. He's definitely a martial monarch realm expert. In order to survive, I paid such a painful price, even my cultivation base. But how did he do it? Not only did he not pay any price, but he also maintained his peak state. The skeletal man put on the mask again, and his tone was filled with disbelief. No. This is our opportunity. As long as we obtain the secret of his survival in the fallen emperor era, and through God, we will be able to live with incomparable power. Suddenly, the black shadow behind him laughed maniacally. The skull-masked man seemed to have calmed down. His voice became hoarse again, filled with malice. Hee hee, good idea. Since we already know this person's identity, let's start setting up a trap for him. Reverend Zhongxian and the others have probably already developed a strange heart. Let the ghost-devouring vine devour them. The skull-masked man sneered and chanted an ancient grey incantation. The curse flew over and arrived at the Great Sun Sect. Senior, let me stay here for a while. I don't want to leave. In the small courtyard. Chu Yurten's large, watery eyes blinked repeatedly, filled with reluctance. She didn't want to leave the courtyard, and she didn't want to leave Senior either. Be good, girl. Go back with your father. You can't be so careless about marriage. You can come and play any time in the future. Xiao Changtian said lightly. These few days, he didn't understand if this girl had a problem with her brain. It was because this girl's values were not normal. He was just a passerby, so he still needed Maniac Chu to teach him. Senior. Chu Yurten still wanted to beg. Maniac Chu grabbed her arm immediately. An expert like Senior liked peace and quiet the most. That was why he hid in the mortal world and became a leisurely mortal. This daughter of his was pestering him. If he were to make Senior angry, it would really be a loss. Senior, I will take my daughter and leave now. I promise to educate her well. Maniac Chu said with a smile. Although Chu Yurten was reluctant, she was also afraid that her senior would be angry. She could only lower her head silently and leave with him. Seeing the two of them leave, Xiao Changtian was delighted. That's great. A few days ago, I slept on the floor until my back hurt. I can finally sleep in my bed tonight. Xiao Changtian smiled faintly. In the afternoon, he brought Maniac Chu back. He wanted to try the spiritual dishes of the Great Sun Sect. He had been on the Tianyuan continent for a long time, but he had never tasted the food of cultivators. However, it was said that the food of immortal cultivators contained terrifying spiritual energy. If an ordinary mortal ate these spirit vegetables, they would probably explode and die. Even though Daoist Daong tried his best to persuade him to stay, Xiao Changtian still refused. He returned early to settle Chu Yuren's matter. Time's up. Go back to sleep. Don't cause me any more trouble. He looked up at the sky and confirmed the time. Then, he looked at the pond and the chicken coop and warned the green-haired turtle and the big hen. Only then did he turn around and return to his room. Chapter 53, One of the 10 Great Vicious Creatures, Ghost. Chapter 53, One of the 10 Great Vicious Creatures, Ghost. Devouring Vine. _I. Inside the Great Sun Sect. Perfected Xingyun and Lien Shanin saw that it was about time and also took their leave. In the Great Sun Sect, only perfected Zhongxian and the other two were left, as well as many disciples. Big brother big son, let me toast you again. Yes, yes. Perfected Zhongxian, perfected Qiongchen, and perfected Beishan all raised their wine glasses and kept calling big brother Daong. He called her very warmly and affectionately. Seniors, don't call me that anymore. I can't bear it. The immortal De Yang's face was covered in cold sweat. After all, Xiao Changtian had already left. Facing these three people, he didn't have any confidence. It was like an ant standing beside an elephant. Even if the elephant did not have any ill intentions, the ant would still feel fear. Big brother big son, we are addressing you from the bottom of our hearts. Yes, yes. You will be our big brother in the future. The three of them said sincerely. Being addressed like this was like a small mountain pressing down on him, making him feel suffocated. Although his cultivation realm was far from the three of them, as sect masters, he had a sense of experience in the ways of the world. Seniors, is there anything you need? You need me to do it. If it is, I will do my best. The Daoist big son went straight to the point and stopped probing. When the three of them heard this, they immediately looked at each other, gritted their teeth, and nodded. Big brother big son, we do have a favor to ask of you. When the great Sun Immortal heard this, his eyes narrowed as if he had guessed something. He said, is it about that senior? Actually, he had not guessed it. However, at present, this was the only thing that perfected Zhongxian and the other two could ask of him. After all, he was just a small nascent soul cultivator. In front of these three, he was like an ant that could be destroyed with a flip of his hand. Other than that senior, he had no other value. In the world of cultivation, there were no eternal enemies, only eternal interests. As the sect master of a sect, the great Sun Immortal saw this matter extremely clearly. Yes, sir. Perfected Zhongxian, perfected Qiongcheng, and perfected Beishan all calmed down. He slowly put down the wine glass in his hand. The three of them walked to the front of the great Sun Immortal and knelt down. What are you doing? Seniors, please rise. The great Sun Immortal was extremely shocked. He could not afford to have three Tribulation Transcendence Realm experts kneel down before a mere nascent soul realm cultivator. He hurriedly wanted to support the three of them. However, he discovered a terrifying fact. I can't help myself up. The other three were all Tribulation Transcendence Realm experts. It was naturally impossible for a mere nascent soul realm cultivator like him to touch them. Seniors, what exactly do you want? At this moment, the great Sun Immortal wanted to cry but had no tears. He knelt down as well. Not only was he kneeling, but he was also prostrating on the ground. He was truly afraid. Brother Big Sun, get up. The three of them watched as the Grand Sun Immortal knelt down. Their divine thoughts helped the Grand Sun Immortal up. The Great Sun Immortal was speechless. Seniors, please speak. The Immortal of Daong was completely speechless. In the past, he didn't want to kneel, but under pressure, he could only grovel. Now that he wanted to kneel down, those people wouldn't let him. He had to stand in front of them. Helplessly, he could only let the three of them speak and understand the reason why the three of them were begging him. Brother Big Sun, we want you to plead with Senior for us. Plead for mercy. That's right. Perfected Zhongxian and the other two nodded and then began to tell the story. In fact, half a month ago, we came to threaten you to hold the Grand Prodigy Tournament in the Great Sun Sect. Our true goal is to destroy the entire Great Sun Town today. This is the Ghost-Devouring Vine. A method to destroy Great Sun Town. With that, Perfected Zhongxian took out the black iron box in his hand and placed it in front of the Great Sun Perfected. What? Ghost-Devouring Vine. The Great Sun Immortal's expression changed at this moment. He had already guessed that these three people's goal was to destroy Great Sun Town. However, he didn't expect that he would actually use the Ghost-Devouring Vine. The Ghost-Devouring Vine was one of the 10 great beasts of the Tian Yuan continent. It could suck the souls of people. This wasn't the scariest part. The most terrifying thing about the Ghost-Devouring Vine was that it could imprison a person's soul and burn it with karmic fire, torturing it until it collapsed. However, the Ghost-Devouring Vine would use a special method to save the soul that was about to collapse and burn it again with the hellfire. It caused the soul body to be immortal, but it would forever be burned by the karmic sin flames. Just thinking of this, the face of the Grand Sun Immortal turned cold. These people's methods were too sinister. Even though these three people's cultivation realms were far above his, he still could not help but be furious. You guys are too much. It was true that he was in the nascent soul stage, but he, the Immortal of the Great Sun, was not someone who fawned over the powerful. If it weren't for Senior, everyone in Great Sun Town would have been devoured by the Ghost-Devouring Vine and their souls would have been burned by the hellfire. This was a supreme sin. He could not be forgiven. Brother Daong, we know we were wrong, so we apologize to you and the entire Daong town. Senior definitely knows about this. We are not asking for his forgiveness. We just want you to introduce us to him. We will personally apologize to Senior and beg for Senior's punishment. Perfected Zhongxian and the others all said. They knew that they had committed a grave sin, but fortunately, they had not committed a grave mistake and could still live. Even if they were to suffer the punishment of their seniors, they were willing. However, if they were allowed to leave, they would definitely be killed by the skeletal masked man. They didn't want to go back. He didn't dare to go back. Humph. Since you want to accept your punishment, I'll bring you there tomorrow morning. Senior will definitely make a decision. The great Sun Immortal snorted coldly and looked at these people with an attitude that no longer had the same apprehension as before. Instead, he was filled with anger. Thank you, Big Brother Sun. When the three of them heard that the great Sun Immortal had agreed, their faces were filled with joy. Facing the punishment of their senior, even if they had to be dismembered or have their cultivation crippled, they were already prepared to accept it. As long as they could obtain the protection of their seniors after their punishment, they would be satisfied. As long as he could survive, everything was not a problem. At this moment, an ancient and profound voice suddenly floated in from the space and fell into the black iron box. Buzz! All of a sudden, the black iron box shook violently. A black chi spread out. Chapter 54, Nanming Primordial Fire. It's the Nanming. Chapter 54, Nanming Primordial Fire. It's the Nanming. Primordial Fire Painting. _I. Kacha. A tearing sound rang out as the black iron box was torn open by a stream of black gas. As the black iron box was broken, countless black gases appeared and a vine floated in space. Not good, the ghost-devouring vine is out. It's that person who wants to kill us in the future. He wants to use the ghost-devouring vine to devour us. This person is truly ruthless. The expressions of the three people changed. How could they not know that the mysterious curse was the means of the man with the skeleton mask? Brother Big Sun, run. We can only survive if we seek the protection of Senior. Perfected Zhongxian's expression changed drastically, and he shouted for everyone to escape quickly. However, by the time the three of them used their spiritual power and escaped outside the hall, they suddenly turned their heads and saw that the vine had already transformed into thousands of tentacles. One of the tentacles enveloped the great Sun Immortal. The great Sun Immortal could not move and was about to be devoured. No. I'm going back to save them. You guys go first. Perfected Zhongxian's face darkened. He immediately turned into a stream of light and returned. We'll go back, he said. Perfected being Qiong and perfected being Ba Shan exchanged a glance, nodded, and flew back as well. They couldn't leave the immortal De Yang behind. The three of them turned into three streaks of light and attacked the ghost-devouring vine from three directions. The current ghost-devouring vine. It wasn't just a single vine anymore, but a myriad of vines that were coiling around the space. Boom! The three forces landed, causing the ghost-devouring vine to tremble. After all, the ghost-devouring vine's power was equivalent to a 9th-level tribulation transcendence expert. In a situation where he was unprepared, a 9th-stage tribulation transcendence expert would also be injured if he suffered a terrifying attack. Brother Big Sun, let's go. While the ghost-devouring vine was trembling, perfected Zhongxian saved the great Sun perfected. Pulling along Daoist De Yang, he was about to flee at full speed. However, the ghost-devouring vine was furious. Endless vines instantly sealed the entire hall. The door of the hall was already blocked. It was already impossible for perfected Zhongxian and the others to leave. Damn it! This damned ghost-devouring vine is going to devour us all. Daoist Beishan said viciously. I can't just sit there and wait. None of the people present were willing to submit, and they immediately began to fight the ghost-devouring vine. Buzz! Behind Daoist Bashan, a terrifying power condensed into a green mountain. The green mountain was vast and heavy as it pressed down heavily. Clang! In front of perfected Qiongcheng, a Dan Qiong flower appeared. The petals of the Dan Qiong flower turned into the sharpest blade and cut the vines. Whoosh! A huge long blade appeared under perfected Zhongxian. A cold light shone on the blade as if it could cut through everything. A knife will cut down to the point where it's about to be revealed. The Daoist master De Yang, who had just been rescued, did not idle either. He activated his cultivation technique and a fiery sun appeared behind him. The sun shone brightly, emitting a scorching aura. The sun ignited the vines, and some of the vines at the edge began to burn. As the 4 completely different attacks landed, the ghost-devouring vine that had just been released instantly took half a step back. A crack appeared in front of the door of the hall. Let's go. The 4 of them were delighted and wanted to escape. But suddenly, the severed vines on the ground suddenly turned into a huge network that wrapped around the 4 of them. Trapped within. It's over. The 4 people's faces darkened, and they were in despair. The attack just now had already consumed all of their strength. It was already impossible to break through this cage now. Hiss hiss. The vines continued to climb. Wisps of black gas were emitted from the cage. The black gas attached to the surface of their bodies and began to devour them. Damn it! Are we going to die here today? The 4 of them were in utter despair. Suddenly, Big Sun seemed to have remembered something. An image suddenly flashed across his mind. That senior gave him the scroll of the Great Thousand. He didn't know why such a thought flashed through his mind, but there was nothing he could do now. He could only take out the painting that Xiao Changtian had given him from his storage ring. Brother Big Sun, what are you doing with this painting? Perfected Zhongxian could not help but frown and ask. However, the immortal De Yang did not answer him. The black gas had already enveloped him into a sphere. There was no time for nonsense now. The last glimmer of hope rose in the heart of the great Sun Immortal. Then, he opened the painting. Phew! In an instant, a flame that seemed to burn the heavens roared out from the scroll. The vine cage in front of him was instantly burned into black ashes. The black gas that was attached to the surface of their bodies also disappeared in an instant. As for the ghost-devouring vine, it still wanted to use its vines to contain the flames. However, a ferocious aura pounced over from the flames. Pa, pa, pa. The endless inferno instantly set the ghost-devouring vine ablaze. It made crackling sounds. Nanming Primordial Fire. This is the Nanming Ignis painting. Daoist Zhongxian and the other 2 were instantly shocked. As experts in the Tribulation Transcendence realm, they naturally had such discerning eyes. They could recognize that these flames were the Nanming Primordial Fire. As for the Great Sun Immortal's painting, they did not need to think to guess that it was the secret Pavilion Master's Nanming Ignis painting. No, I can't. That's not right. It's not just the Nanming Primordial Fire. This is an even more terrifying flame. It seems to be the god level of the Nanming Primordial Fire. Daoist Ba Shan frowned as he stared at the flames in front of him. His brows were filled with shock. A few breaths of time. He sensed a power that was stronger than the Nanming Primordial Fire. Boom! In the endless flames, the ghost-devouring vine was burned and exploded, releasing countless vengeful souls and ghosts. Completely dissipated. The great Sun Immortal's face was filled with shock. When had he ever seen such terrifying flames? He hurriedly rolled up the scroll. As the scroll was put away, the flames burning in the hall followed and entered the scroll. Phew! Fortunately, there are seniors. Otherwise, we would all die here today. The great Sun Immortal let out a long breath and calmed himself down. He raised the scroll in his hand and looked at it respectfully. Only then did he realize that he had underestimated the senior. Although he knew that senior's painting scroll was no ordinary treasure, how could he have expected it? It was actually so terrifying. After the ghost-devouring vine was destroyed, in the dark secret chamber, the man wearing the skull mask seemed to have suffered a backlash. A spark floated into the entire dark chamber. Ah! He only heard a miserable scream from the dark chamber. Half of the black shadow behind the masked skeleton man was burned away. Chapter 55, Chapter 55, Stumbling in Shock, 1. Chapter 55, Stumbling in Shock, 1. Inside the Great Sun Hall. Perfected Zhongxian and the other three saw this scene. He was stunned. That's it. Although the ghost-devouring vine is terrifying, it still has the ability to resist the Nanming primordial fire. Even if the Pavilion Master of Divination had the Nanming primordial fire portrait, he would still need to expend a lot of effort to destroy the ghost-devouring vine. Perfected Great Sun, you actually have such a treasure. You're also in contact with the Pavilion Master of Heavenly Secrets. Perfected Zhongxian and the other two looked at Perfected Daoist. The three pairs of eyes stared at her as if they were staring at a beautiful woman. Cough cough. This painting was given to me by Senior. The Immortal Daoist quickly changed the topic and explained the origin of the painting. Nanming fire painting. He had also heard of it. That was the treasure of the Pavilion Master of Heavenly Secrets. As long as the scroll was unfolded, the Nanming primordial fire would turn into a sea of fire and fight the enemy from afar. The Nanming primordial fire, a celestial flame, was so terrifying. He did not expect that the senior would give him the Pavilion Master of the Secret Pavilion, the Nanming primordial fire painting. Could senior be the Pavilion Master of the Secret Pavilion? The people of Great Sun Town were slightly stunned, but they immediately rejected this doubt. Perfected Zhongxian and the others were all experts, so they should have seen the Pavilion Master of Heavenly Secrets. Then, the only possibility. It was the Pavilion Master of the Secret Pavilion who gave this painting to Senior. Senior. 2. Perfected Zhongxian was slightly stunned. Then, he remembered that before the Prodigy tournament began, Senior had once handed a scroll to Perfected Daoist. So that was the case. They also reacted. Senior is really meticulous. Perfected Zhongxian suddenly opened his mouth, his eyes bursting with light, and a hint of enlightenment suddenly appeared on his face. What do you mean by that? Perfected Jade Cheng asked in confusion. That's right. Plan without fail. Could it be that Senior already knew that the ghost-devouring vine was going to? Daoist Beishan frowned as he spoke. Suddenly, he froze halfway through his sentence. Impossible. Senior even predicted that the Lord would kill us. The more Daoist Beishan spoke, the more shocked he became. Although he sounded doubtful, he had already agreed with this idea in his heart. That Senior is really amazing. We'll hurry up and pay a visit to Senior tomorrow morning. Daoist Zhongxian said solemnly. At night. It was as quiet as water. The gentle moonlight shone on the ground, illuminating the small courtyard as if it was covered with a layer of light gauze. Snoring could be heard from the room. Mu Jiuhuang sat on the stone table and was in a daze. Ever since she read the book written by Xiao Changzhang, she had been in this state. The great emperor is but an ant in front of those people. After a long time, Mu Jiuhuang finally came back to her senses. Her red lips moved slightly as she muttered a sigh. A hint of disappointment flashed across her phoenix eyes. However, her eyes suddenly turned sharp. Even if I am as weak as an ant in front of those people. However, it allowed me to see the realm of the strong. If I, Mu Jiuhuang, can become the great empress, then I can also break through the shackles of the Tianyuan continent and become even stronger. Mu Jiuhuang muttered. He regained his confidence and made up his mind to follow Senior and listen to Senior's Tao. Hence, he flashed back to the kitchen to sleep. In the woodshed, Yi Fan's axe floated above his head. It emitted a faint silver light. It was as if he was completing some kind of transformation. Everything was so quiet and peaceful. As for the small courtyard, Alpha was playing chess, the ants were hiding in the grass, and Fatty Rongrong was in a daze. As for the green-haired turtle in the pond and the big hen in the chicken coop, they stared at each other. However, he did not dare to move. The night slowly passed. The next day. Early morning. Xiao Changtian woke up from his dream. He had a dream that his books sold well. Then, he opened a bookstore. Some wealthy people even came to him and said that they wanted to open their bookstore all over the Tianyuan continent. Tisk. If. It's just a dream, but I actually opened a bookstore again. Let's continue setting up the stall. Xiao Changtian smiled faintly. He got up and washed his face before walking out of the room. Good morning, master. However, as soon as he pushed the door open, he saw Mu Jiuhuang standing at the door with a smile on her face. After Mu Jiuhuang thought it through last night, she made a decision. If she stayed by Senior's side and listened to Senior's words of the great Tao every day, she would be able to improve faster. Yi Fan was also fetching water. Yi Fan's axe was pinned to his waist, as if the axe blade had become even sharper. These two people actually woke up earlier than him. Yes. Xiao Changtian nodded and ordered the two of them to move all the bookshelves out. He was going to set up his stall again. Yes, sir. The two of them nodded and went to move the bookshelves. Xiao Changtian took Alpha with him and pushed open the door of the small courtyard, ready to go for a walk. However, just as he pushed open the door, he was stunned. Daoist great son, what are you doing? You even brought so many people. Xiao Changtian looked at the door in confusion. Behind the great sun Immortal, there were 3 immortal Xingyun. The 3 of them were all smiling and bowing. These 3 people were prepared to do some bad things, but now they have repented and want you to give them some advice. The great sun Immortal said. He was sure that the senior in front of him already knew about the ghost-devouring vine. Otherwise, he wouldn't have given him the Nanming primordial fire diagram. However, considering that perfected Zhongxian and the others had returned to save him halfway, the great sun perfected still wanted to plead for mercy. I see. Come in. Xiao Changtian said lightly. The great sun Immortal himself was a terrifying immortal cultivator, but the reason why he came to negotiate with him was probably related to mortals. After all, most of the matters between immortal cultivators were about fighting and killing. Sit. Xiao Changtian said casually, and the great sun Immortal sat down skillfully. But when the 3 of them saw Alpha staring at them, their hair stood on end and they didn't dare to move. It seemed that as long as they moved, in the next moment, he would be slapped to death by the sky-devouring dog. The 3 of us won't sit. We feel guilty and don't dare to sit. Daoist Zhongxian and the other 2 hurriedly spoke. Xiao Changtian looked at the 3 of them and nodded. These 3 people's characters weren't bad. At least he knew that he had done something wrong and felt guilty. He did not lose his conscience. As an immortal cultivator, being able to admit his mistakes in front of mortals was like an emperor admitting his mistakes in front of ordinary people. This required great courage and character. Moreover, according to the great sun Immortal, these 3 people had not done it yet. Everyone, have some tea first. Mu Jiuhuang, who was carrying the bookshelves, saw someone coming. She put down the bookshelves in her hands and brought a few cups of tea. Thank you so much. The great sun Immortal nodded to express his gratitude. As for the 3 of them, they also received the teacups and were suddenly shocked. Female, female, female. Chapter 56, Chapter 56, Immortal Ba Shan is dumb, 1. Chapter 56, Immortal Ba Shan is dumb, 1. They wanted to talk about the Empress. Mu Jiuhuang was the Empress of the 9 Phoenix dynasty. She was at the 9th level of the Tribulation Transcendence realm and was the strongest human expert on the Tianyuan continent. Who didn't know? Who didn't know? Not to mention them. They were the sect masters of first-rank sects and experts in the Tribulation Transcendence realm. Don't mention my name in front of Senior. Right now, I'm just Senior's maid. Mu Jiuhuang transmitted her true essence with a faint smile. Right now, she was just Senior's maid. Maid? The 3 of them were shocked and opened their mouths wide, wanting to say something. The dignified Empress had such a peerless bearing. Countless experts followed, and the rulers killed. How arrogant was that? Now, she was actually serving as someone else's maid. But after thinking about it, he felt that it was reasonable. The senior in front of him kicked the black tortoise and slapped the phoenix as if he was bullying a child. Even that lord fled in panic when he saw Senior. The Empress was very strong, and the woman was also very arrogant. But in front of Senior, it was just a slap. Being able to be a servant for a senior was a supreme opportunity. What's wrong with you 3? Xiao Changtian looked at perfected Zhong Xian and the other 2 in confusion. These 3 were immortal cultivators. Could it be that the spiritual energy in their bodies was conflicting and caused them to stutter? No, it's nothing. Perfected Zhongxian hurriedly replied. It's good that you're fine. Xiao Changtian nodded, then looked at the Great Sun Immortal and asked, how do you plan to deal with these 3? I don't know. If the 3 of them had committed any crimes below that, I would have definitely sentenced them to have their souls destroyed. But now, they hadn't done anything wrong. They just had the wrong idea. I don't know if I should punish him or not. That's why I wanted to ask you. The Great Sun Immortal said respectfully. Although his cultivation was low, his heart was not devoid of conscience. That was why Great Sun's sect was protecting Great Sun Town. I see. Xiao Changtian nodded again and said, as the saying goes, there is no greater good than knowing your mistakes and being able to correct them. Since the mistake was not committed, he could forgive it this time. However, you will also need to receive a certain punishment. These punishments don't have to be too severe, you can decide for yourself, Immortal De Yang. Yes, sir. The Great Sun Immortal nodded. Since the senior said so, it meant that the 3 of them could live. The 3 of us know that we were wrong, but we were ordered by someone. We didn't do anything bad under his orders. He'll kill us. Perfected Zhong Xian looked at Xiao Changtian again with a pleading look in his eyes. If the senior in front of them could protect them, the man wearing the skull mask would not be able to kill them. Perfected Zhong Xian and the other 2 were all nervous. They stood still, waiting for Xiao Changtian to speak. Xiao Changtian was stunned. There was a mastermind behind this. This matter seemed to be a little troublesome. Fortunately, the Great Sun Immortal was an expert with a profound cultivation. You can ask the Great Sun Immortal for help in this matter. I'm just a mortal and can't help you with anything. Xiao Changtian shook his head and said. He was giving the 3 of them a hint. As long as they can find the protection of the Great Sun Immortal, we can guarantee our own safety. Perfected Zhongxian and the other 2 heard this. He was instantly delighted. Senior wants them to be together with the Great Sun Immortal. Yes. The 3 of them nodded frantically. As long as they were together with the Great Sun Immortal, it seemed that they would be able to obtain the protection of their senior again. As for the man in the skull mask, he was nothing in front of the senior. At this moment, Yi Fan carried a bookshelf and walked around them, heading out of the door. Make way. Yi Fan said indifferently. Perfected Zhongxian and the other two hurriedly stepped aside and asked in confusion, are these going to be moved outside? We can help. The three of them wanted to leave a good impression in front of Xiao Changtian. Thank you. Xiao Changtian smiled. Although these people were not as powerful as the great sun Immortal, they were still immortal cultivators. Compared to Yi Fan, who was immortal, Jiu was more powerful. Moving these bookshelves was also much easier. Upon hearing this, the three of them immediately moved the bookshelves. These bookshelves did not pose any pressure to the experts who were transcending the tribulation. He casually moved the bookshelf up. Very quickly. The three of them moved the remaining bookshelves out. These are books. Senior's collection of books. Daoist Ba Shan looked at the books on the bookshelf and asked in puzzlement. He was even a little moved. Could it be that such an expert's collection of books was some kind of peerless cultivation technique? He really wanted to flip it open and appreciate Senior's supreme cultivation technique. However, she retracted her hand halfway. I'm really confused. How can I casually touch Senior's book? If I were to do so, I would be too offended. Daoist Beishan laughed at himself. Perfected Zhongxian and perfected Qiongqing were the same. Everyone, these books were personally written by my master and are prepared to be sold at a stall, so the three of you can read them. If you want to buy it, you can do so too. Yi Fan said indifferently. Master? Little brother, aren't you Senior's disciple? Daoist Zhongxian noticed Yi Fan's address and looked at Yi Fan in shock. The other two also looked over. They realized that they actually could not see Yi Fan in front of them at all. They only felt that Yi Fan was like immortal. However, there was an indescribable aura about him. That aura made them feel that he was in danger. Greetings, Senior. Perfected Zhongxian and the other two hurriedly bowed respectfully to Yi Fan. There's no need to be so polite. Compared to the three of you, I'm just a junior. I'm Yi Fan. Yi Fan smiled lightly and nodded his head simply. He walked back to the courtyard and continued chopping firewood. Looking at Yi Fan's back, perfected Zhongxian was slightly stunned. Yi Fan. Why do I feel like I've heard this name before? It seems that the name of the eldest son of the Yi family in the West Bull continent is the same. But I heard that the eldest young master was persecuted by the second mistress and had already dug out the supreme being bone. Could it be? Perfected Zhongxian and the other two were stunned. However, Yi Fan was now the disciple of an expert. They did not dare to criticize him. He casually picked up a book on the bookshelf and flipped it open. He wanted to see if Senior's book contained a peerless cultivation technique. This. However, when they flipped open the book and scanned it, they were shocked. He was extremely shocked. They saw a brand new world, a world that was completely different from the Tianyuan continent. However, in this world, everyone was so powerful that they could destroy the Tianyuan continent in a single breath. Hiss. These people are too terrifying. Fortunately, it's just a description in the book. Immortal Ba Shan gasped and said with relief. Ha! The description in the book was personally written by Senior. Chapter 57, Chapter 57:1 Won't go to Yi Hong Restaurant, 1. Chapter 57:1 Won't go to Yi Hong Restaurant, 1. You mean that Senior witnessed all of this with his own eyes? Perfected Qiongqing said in a low voice. His breathing quickened, and his entire body began to tremble. In fact, he had already decided on this idea. It was just that it was too shocking and he did not dare to accept it for the time being. Not only did Senior witness it with your own eyes, but I also feel that Senior is an invincible person who walked out of that war. Those people have the sun, moon, and stars in their hands. With a wave of their hands, the universe will collapse. But Senior was able to come out of that war and write down these things. I don't need to say what it means. Daoist Xingyun said in a deep voice. His body was also trembling. The seniors must have experienced the war. Not only that, they must have survived the war. It was enough to prove that seniors' cultivation had already far surpassed those people. Those people already had the sun, moon, and stars in their hands, breaking the river of time. How terrifying would seniors' methods be? They didn't dare to think about it anymore. His entire body quivered. Senior, I want to buy a book. Perfected Xingyun was the first to come back to his senses. Holding the book in his hand, he walked into the small courtyard. Seeing this, the other two picked up their books and walked towards the courtyard. You want to buy books? Do you think this book is interesting? Xiao Changtian heard the three of them holding books and threatening to buy them, and he couldn't help but feel puzzled. Could it be that the cultivators of this world? He also liked to read these cultivation novels. If that was the case, wouldn't his bookstore be able to continue operating? And business was booming. Your book is so good. Yes, yes, yes. The others also said. Alright, I'll sell it to you. 10 copper coins per person. I'll give you a discounted price. Xiao Changtian smiled. Originally, he thought that this book was probably cold, but he didn't expect that these immortal cultivators actually liked to read it. 10 copper coins. Hearing the price, the three of them were shocked. Senior's book recorded a once glorious era. Such a divine book was only sold for 10 copper coins. Perfected Xingyun, Perfected Xingyun, and Perfected Beishan looked at each other with shock on their faces. Senior, we'll buy all the books here. Perfected Xingyun said directly. The matter came to an end. Xiao Changtian weighed the 10 gold taels in his hand and nodded in satisfaction as he watched the four of them leave. It seemed that his idea of opening a bookstore was indeed feasible. Just now, he had already communicated with the people of Daong Town that they wanted to open a bookstore in the relay station. When the time came, he would give the dividends to Immortal De Yang. However, Daoist Big Sun didn't want a single cent. He immediately agreed to this matter and contacted the person in charge of the relay station. He would immediately come to his small courtyard to discuss with him. Sir, I'm here. At this moment, a fat man with a big belly appeared in front of the courtyard. The fat on his face swayed like waves. He had a sexy mustache and was wearing a large coat. This was the person in charge of the relay station, Xiao Yang. He knew her. Head shopkeeper Xiao, you're a Xiuxianist, don't ever call me lord. Xiao Changtian smiled faintly. Yes, my lord. Xiao Yang nodded. Xiao Changtian was speechless. Alright, let's discuss about opening a bookstore. Xiao Changtian had no choice but to change the topic. Days. They lived peacefully. A month passed. The bookstore was built in the courier station, and with Xiao Yang's special promotion, all of Xiao Changtian's books were sold in a short period of time. There was even a shortage of stock. Xiao Changtian was very satisfied. Within a month, another 5 books were written, all of which sold like hotcakes. These people are too strong. Do Qi turning into spirit, how terrifying. A single sword that can sever the river of time. Fuck, this is too awesome. 2. In the northern Baron state, Xiao Changtian's book had already been widely circulated. The price of this book had already reached 100 taels of gold. However, Xiao Changtian felt that it was a little too scary, so he returned to the normal price. Now, he only needed 1 tael of silver. Otherwise, Xiao Changtian's house would be filled with gold. I'm rich. Xiao Changtian sat in the room and looked at the hundreds of gold taels. He didn't even dare to think about it before. With a few hundred taels of gold, one could already be considered rich among mortals. Compared to those immortal cultivators, this white liang of gold might not be able to buy a spirit stone. However, the system had yet to open up the path of invincibility for him. Even if he obtained spirit stones, he would not be able to cultivate. He was already very satisfied with this gold. Be content. Disciple, I'm going to buy meat today. I'll personally cook tonight to improve your meals. Xiao Changtian took out a tael of gold and said with a smile. After a while, he would expand the bookstore and open it in Nanbu State. He had even thought of the name of the academy. It would be called Changtian Bookstore. At this moment, outside Daong town, a beautiful woman with a voluptuous figure walked over with graceful steps. My lord wants me to use a honey trap to deal with that person, hee. One don't care what kind of expert you are. Could it be that he could not fall in love with this old lady? The woman held a cattail leaf fan in her hand. The mountain peaks in front of her chest were like raging waves, and the peaks were like a gathering. It was a magnificent sight. A breeze blew past. It carried a strange fragrance. Behind her were dozens of beautiful women, all of whom had sweet smiles on their faces. Lady boss, when we reach Daong town, will you really give us one tael of gold every month? A girl asked in confusion. That's right. Even in those big places, rich people were generous, but they did not even get one tael of gold a month. Yes, yes. The group of women chattered. Don't worry. The tael of gold that I promised you will definitely be fulfilled. The woman who was walking at the front with a cattail leaf fan smiled contemptuously. In his eyes, trash like gold was just a stone. It was useless. His main goal was to deal with Xiao Changtian. A few days later, in Daong town, a pavilion named Happy Red Court had been built at some point in time. Instantly, it caused an uproar in the entire Daong town. Especially the mortals of Daong town. When had they ever seen such a beautiful woman? They all went to Yi Hong Pavilion curiously. Even Xiao Changtian had heard about this matter. His face revealed a puzzled expression. Yi Hong Pavilion, isn't this? What was it? Xiao Changtian didn't say it. However, he would never go, not even if he was beaten to death. Chapter 58, Chapter 58, Handsome Young Master, what are you? Chapter 58, Handsome Young Master, what are you? Trying to test me about? _I. Ding. Suddenly, the system notification sounded. Xiao Changtian was stunned. What kind of mission was this? Talk all night, what is it about? The system didn't explain it clearly either. Forget it. I'll just have to suffer a little and go meet the boss of the Happy Red Brothel. Xiao Changtian sighed. After leaving some instructions to Mu Jiuhuang and Yi Fan, he left. After all, the sooner he could complete the system's mission, the sooner he could start his path to invincibility. Xiao Changtian left the small courtyard after giving Mu Jiuhuang and Yi Fan some instructions. They headed to this Happy Red Pavilion. This time, he knew that there were many dangers. If he was not careful, he would enter the Azure Dragon Pool and White Tiger Cave. It was extremely dangerous. However, for the sake of his invincible path, he still went all out. Very quickly, Xiao Changtian arrived in front of the Happy Red Pavilion. Accompanied by a fragrant breeze, laughter could be heard. What a handsome young master. Come and play. Sir, I'm proficient in all 18 martial arts. Do you want to try? Don't listen to them. Their martial arts aren't as good as mine. Hey, handsome young master, come with me. I don't want money. How about I give you money? An extremely alluring voice sounded. An old virgin like Xiao Changtian felt his entire body go numb after hearing it. He almost had his blood boiling and had an old problem. Fortunately, Chu Yiren had been in the same room as him during this period of time. She had already thought of all sorts of ways to suppress her emotions. None of you can. I want to see your lady boss. Xiao Changtian said. Aya, what's so good about the lady boss? Come find us directly. Could it be that you, this handsome young master, look down on our martial arts? Young man, although the lady boss is young, she doesn't have much actual combat experience. Young man, I can only give you a piece of advice. You don't know how good it is to be old. The few women standing at the entrance of the Yihong Pavilion all rebuked. A regretful expression appeared on his face. There was nothing they could do. Xiao Changtian was the most handsome and extraordinary person they had received in the past few days. It was like seeing a rose among wildflowers. Everyone's face revealed a wolf-like expression. Young man, you're playing with flowers. You came in to look for the lady boss. A few strong men walked out of the happy red pavilion. Their legs were trembling, their faces were pale, and their footsteps were unsteady. It was obvious that last night was too exhausting. Go back and have a good rest. Xiao Changtian laughed and then walked into the happy red pavilion. Young master, have you seen any Yihong restaurant where the boss wants to do business personally? A handsome woman leading the way said with a smile. Her smile was filled with charm. He looked at Xiao Changtian and felt his blood boiling again. Cut the crap and bring me to your boss. Xiao Changtian was helpless. His face darkened and his voice became serious. If he continued to be teased like this, he would probably faint on the ground before he could see the lady boss and complete the system's mission. Oh, why are you so fierce? The woman who was leading the way chuckled and teased Xiao Changtian again. Xiao Changtian was completely speechless. When had he ever seen such a storm? But in the end, he still persevered and suppressed his surging blood essence. Finally, at the highest point of the attic, in a room covered with roses, he saw the lady boss. Lady boss, I've brought you your men. The woman who was leading the way turned around and smiled. She threw Xiao Changtian a flirtatious look and then left. Are you the lady boss? Xiao Changtian looked at the woman in front of him. She was beautiful and wore a long dress with a pomegranate pattern. There was a charming smile on her face. Extremely evil. He only took a glance. He felt a reaction. What is it? Does young Master Jun want to have a long talk with me all night? The woman giggled, but a trace of doubt arose in her heart. She was just about to make a move on this person, but she did not expect this person to actually come looking for her. Could it be that he recognized his identity? It shouldn't be. He had disguised himself very well. In order to complete the mission, he had even sealed his cultivation. He was just a mortal now, and there was no spiritual energy fluctuation on his body. Of course. Xiao Changtian sat down opposite the lady boss. His blood was boiling, making him a little unsteady. HCHC, young master is really joking. Don't you know? The lady boss doesn't accept customers. The woman chuckled, her gaze gradually becoming vigilant. He felt that the person in front of him might have recognized her identity. I'll pay. Xiao Changtian took out a tael of gold and slammed it on the table. Happy Red Brothel opened its doors to do business. Who wouldn't do business for money? Besides, he just wanted to talk all night. It was normal to talk about family matters and dreams. Young master, don't mess around. I don't accept guests. The lady boss laughed and refused again. Pa. However, Xiao Changtian took out another tael of gold and slammed it on the table. I don't want to. Pa. Seeing that the lady boss still wanted to refuse, Xiao Changtian directly increased the price. Pa! 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 Xiao Changtian didn't say anything and directly raised the price to 10 gold taels. He didn't believe that anyone would reject such a generous offer. He was only doing this to complete the system's mission. Although 10 taels of gold was extremely precious to him, he still felt that it was not a loss for the path of invincibility. Looking at the 10 taels of gold on the table, the lady boss' brows finally relaxed. Good. I agree. The lady boss giggled and agreed. If she didn't agree even with 10 gold taels, then she was acting too abnormally. I can only test it out later. The woman thought. Then, she stood up and gently took off her clothes. A light yellow muslin slipped down from her shoulders, revealing her snow-white skin and delicate collarbone. With a charming smile on her face, she walked toward Xiao Changtian. Young master, tell me, how do you want to play? What kind of kung fu do you want to test me for? The lady boss's red lips curled up. Her fair hands slowly rested on Xiao Changtian's shoulders. As she approached, the fragrance on her body spread and entered Xiao Changtian's nose. I want to talk to you all night. Xiao Changtian replied. Young master, please follow me. The lady boss waved her hand, and her delicate hands left Xiao Changtian's shoulders again, as if she was trying to seduce him. Chapter 59, Chapter 59, Reward, White Tiger. Chapter 59, Reward, White Tiger. Young master, are we going to maintain this position? The lady boss said gently. A light panting sound came from the red muslin on the big bed. Beads of sweat rolled down his forehead, and he wore a charming expression on his face. She wanted to seduce Xiao Changtian, who was sitting cross-legged opposite her. Because Xiao Changtian had taken off his shoes and gone to bed with her. In the end, they were really chatting here. They didn't even do anything. Of course. What else do you want? Xiao Changtian could feel the warmth of the lady boss's body. He felt his blood boiling and his body straightened. He hurriedly crossed his arms in front of his chest and stared at the lady boss opposite him warily. This was the lady boss' territory. If the lady boss drugged him and cut off his organs to buy them, wouldn't he be at a loss? Before activating the system's invincible path, he definitely had to be cautious. Alright then. The lady boss sat opposite Xiao Changtian and smiled gently. In fact, she was also releasing a kind of bewitching fragrance. The higher one's cultivation was, the stronger the medicinal effects of this kind of bewitching fragrance would be. According to ancient records, this knockout powder was almost guaranteed to hit the target for Mahayana realm cultivators. The person in front of him was definitely above the tribulation, at least in the Mahayana realm. On the contrary, she had sealed her cultivation. She was only a mortal now, and mortals would not have any reaction to this knockout powder. Young master, where were we just now? The lady boss smiled and picked up the cattail leaf fan. She pretended to fan the sweat on her forehead, but in fact, she mixed the knockout powder into the perfume. As the fan was waved by the slender hand, a fragrant wind blew toward Xiao Changtian. Xiao Changtian sniffed and frowned. He quickly covered his nose with his clothes. Is it effective? Seeing Xiao Changtian's strange behavior, the lady boss's red lips curled up slightly, and her face revealed a trace of anticipation. As expected, his knockout powder was effective. Young master, how do you feel now? The lady boss smiled and withdrew her left hand, taking out a crystal ball. He immediately prepared to report to the skull-masked man. What's that smell? Open the window. Xiao Changtian covered his nose and said, Damn it, I thought that this stupid system had really come to its senses and asked me to complete some simple tasks. I didn't expect it to be the Green Dragon Pool and White Tiger Cave. This woman didn't have such a fragrance on her body before, but she suddenly had it. It was very likely that it was the legendary knockout powder. As expected, this woman wanted to knock him unconscious and do whatever she wanted to him. Fortunately, he had seen through it. Xiao Changtian opened the window and waited for the fragrance to dissipate before putting down his nose. Open the windows and get more ventilation. The air is fresh, and you can be healthy, right? Xiao Changtian smiled and looked at the lady boss. Oh, yes. Yes, yes. The lady boss hurriedly nodded. Her left hand that was holding the crystal ball trembled in fear, and the crystal ball rolled out. She was extremely afraid now. The person in front of her had actually discovered the knockout powder mixed in the fragrance. Terrifying. It was terrifying. Even the part that he had absorbed earlier did not affect him at all. Could it be that this person's cultivation wasn't affected by the knockout powder? Could it be? His cultivation had already surpassed the shackles of the Tianyuan continent. According to the ancient records, apart from mortals, only experts who had transcended the shackles of the Tianyuan continent were immune to the effects of the knockout powder. The person in front of him was definitely not a mortal. Then, there was only the second possibility. The expert before him had already reached a cultivation level that surpassed that of the Tianyuan continent. Hiss. The lady boss sucked in a cold breath in her heart. She was also one of the core members of the Dark Chamber. Naturally, he knew that to reach this level, one had to be the legendary ancient emperor before the fallen emperor era. An ancient emperor. Chapter 60, Did you eat the heavenly sword? _I. Chapter 60, Did you eat the heavenly sword? _I. Meow. That little kitten cried out loudly, its 4 legs were extremely flexible, and in a few steps, it climbed onto Xiao Changtian's hand. You're quite smart. Xiao Changtian looked at the kitten in his palm and couldn't help but caress it. Although the system was deceiving him again, this little kitten was indeed quite cute. Thus, Xiao Changtian carried the kitten and walked out of Yihong Pavilion. This handsome young master, your body is really good. You can still walk so steadily when you come out from the lady boss's place. Come again next time. I won't charge you. Hee hee hee. Bewitching voices rang out. The women standing outside the happy red pavilion all covered their faces and smiled. They looked at Xiao Changtian's back with burning eyes. This young master was very capable. Even if they didn't charge, they still wanted to experience it once. Very quickly. Xiao Changtian carried the snow-white cat Mengshi and returned to the courtyard. As for this name, it was randomly picked on the way. Master, you're back. As soon as they entered the courtyard, Mu Jiuhuang greeted them with a smile and a cup of tea in her hand. Jiu, are you alright? Xiao Changtian looked at Mu Jiuhuang in front of him with a puzzled expression. Jiu, was acting a little abnormal today. In the past, Jiu, was not so meticulous. Xiao Changtian thought for a moment and reached out his hand, slowly reaching for Mu Jiuhuang's forehead. Master, what do you want? Seeing Xiao Changtian's hand reaching towards her, Mu Jiuhuang's face instantly turned red. Master, don't tell me you want to. Yes, her temperature is normal. Xiao Changtian nodded. He placed his hand on Mu Jiuhuang's forehead and compared the temperature with his own. After confirming that Mu Jiuhuang was not having a fever, he heaved a sigh of relief. Phew. Mu Jiuhuang saw that Xiao Changtian only touched her forehead and didn't do anything else. Her nervous mood instantly relaxed. Instantly, her jade-like neck turned red. She wanted to slap herself. Master was a gentleman. That night when she was unconscious, Master did not do anything to her. These few days, her mood had been unstable, and she had actually started to let her imagination run wild. Was Master that kind of person? Master, please have some tea. Let me hold this kitten. Mu Jiehuang handed the teacup over and Xiao Changtian nodded. Meow. However, when Mu Jiehuang took Miao Mengshi from Xiao Changtian's hands, the white tiger suddenly let out a deep roar. She was a white tiger and did not like the aura of strangers. However, the white tiger's deep roar frightened Mu Jiehuang so much that she retreated continuously. Her outstretched hands were so frightened that they retracted. A giant tiger appeared in her sea of consciousness. The white tiger's domineering aura shook the 9 heavens. It lay across the galaxy with a peerless figure and let out a muffled roar. In an instant, countless stars fell and the galaxy collapsed. How terrifying! White tiger. Mu Jiehuang's face revealed an extremely shocked expression. The white kitten in Senior's hand was a white tiger. One of the 4 great divine beasts, the white tiger. Hiss. Mu Jiehuang could not help but gasp in shock. He didn't dare to touch the kitten again. What's wrong? Don't like the aura of strangers? Xiao Changtian asked. He knew that cats were extremely vigilant. Meow. The white tiger hurriedly nodded. This woman in front of him was really too weak. She was the supreme white tiger and was naturally arrogant. All right then. Xiao Changtian nodded and picked up the white tiger. Then in the future, you'll feed this green-haired turtle, the old hen, and Alpha. I'll take care of this kitten first. Xiao Changtian ordered, bringing his little cat and fatty Rongrong to Great Sun Town's Tsang Mountain for a stroll. The main purpose of bringing the fat Rongrong was that the bamboo in the courtyard was almost eaten up. He had already instructed Yifan to change to a new batch. At the same time, North Baron State. Heavenly Sword Villa. The huge manor was scattered on a huge ancient sword. It was spectacular. At the same time, countless sword chi flew out and turned into white light, surrounding the Heavenly Sword Villa. At this moment, suddenly, a huge white light shot into the sky, forming a pillar of light that soared into the sky. Suddenly, a vast sword chi appeared in the light pillar. The sword chi was unbridled, as if it wanted to split the world apart. With a single sword strike, it broke the huge light pillar. Ha ha ha, Heavenly Sword. I've finally mastered the Heavenly Sword. The pillar of light dissipated, and a tall and sturdy man appeared. His skin was bronze, and his upper body was naked. His entire body emitted a heroic aura. He was the owner of Heavenly Sword Villa, Tai Han's Han. In his hand was a peerless sword. The long sword was extremely sharp, and it emitted waves of dragon roars in the space. The sword chime sounded like a dragon's roar. Tai Shanhan waved his sword casually. The sharp sword tore through the air and slashed down. The mountain in front of him was directly cut into 2 halves. Ha ha ha, 1,000 years. It took me a full 1,000 years to forge this heavenly sword. From now on, my Heavenly Sword Villa will be famous for this sword. Ha ha ha. Tai Shanhan laughed loudly as he brandished the heavenly sword in his hand, cleaving mountains and seas. He was proud of his success. Knowing that he was tired of slashing, he landed in the sky. The heavenly sword is invincible. Tai Shanhan looked at the sword in his hand and focused all his energy on it. He didn't even have time to look at the road. He did not notice that a huge mouth had suddenly reached out from the bamboo forest in front of him and bit the heavenly sword. Gotcha. As the huge mouth bit down, the heavenly sword in Tai Shanhan's hand was directly broken from the middle. Even the part that was bitten off was chewed by the Iron Eater seriously, making a crispy sound. It was as if he was eating bamboo. You ate my heavenly sword. Tai Shanhan looked at the heavenly sword in his hand. It had already been cut in 2. In front of him was a black and white, round formation beast, which was chewing seriously. There was even a delicious expression on his face. He seemed to be extremely satisfied with the taste of the heavenly sword. What the fuck? You're courting death. Shanhan's expression changed, and he was instantly enraged. This heavenly sword was the divine weapon that he was most satisfied with after he had been in seclusion for 1,000 years. The demonic beast in front of him actually ate it. His anger instantly covered his rationality. The true essence in his body instantly surged, and an extremely terrifying aura instantly erupted, directly blasting towards Fatty Rongrong. Boom! Immediately, a loud collision sound was heard. Chapter 61, Reforge this sword, 1. Chapter 61, Reforge this sword, 1. Muffled sounds. Xiao Changtian was alarmed. What happened? Let's go and take a look. Xiao Changtian looked at the other side of the bamboo forest with confusion. Very quickly walking over, he saw Fatty Rongrong sitting on a man. That man struggled, wanting to get up, but Fatty Rongrong was like a mountain, unmoving. No matter how hard the man struggled, he couldn't move an inch. Who else could this man be but Shanhan? He roused the true essence around his body, launching an attack with all his might towards Fatty Rongrong. However, he realized that he could not break through the defense. Soon after, he was suppressed here by Fatty Rongrong. Ah! Shanhan let out a series of helpless and furious cries. He struggled with all his might, but it was useless. Rongrong, quickly get up. Seeing this, Xiao Changtian was shocked. This man looked strong and muscular. However, Rongrong sat on him, unable to even turn over. As expected, dead muscles don't work. Xiao Changtian thought in his heart, but he didn't say it out loud, one hand grabbing the back of Rongrong's neck, one hand lifting her up. This. Are you alright? Xiao Changtian held back his laughter as he looked at this muscular man. IIJ2. I'm fine. Shanhan looked at Xiao Changtian and stammered. The ferocious beast before him was an iron eater. During the process of the sky sword being swallowed and then suppressed, the memories of the Iron Eater finally surfaced in Shanhan's mind. Back then, wasn't it because of the ancestors' regret that all the swords he forged were swallowed by the Iron Eater? No matter how good the materials were, no matter what techniques were used, it was still impossible to forge a perfect sword that could resist the Iron Eaters. That was why Hanshan had been in seclusion for 1,000 years. He had combined the techniques of his predecessors to create this heavenly sword. Originally, he was full of confidence and forged a sword that no one had ever forged before. However, it was casually devoured. Until just now, when he witnessed the power of the Iron Eater, he thought he would die here. He didn't expect to be saved right away. The man in front of him could pick up the Iron Eater with one hand. What kind of cultivation was this? Could it be that he had already surpassed the tribulation and was a legendary master of the Mahayana realm? Hanshan looked at Xiao Changtian and frowned. Strange, why did this person in front of him not have any cultivation? End quote. Immortal? But how can a mortal lift an Iron Eater with one hand? That shouldn't be. Shanhan's eyes scanned the tiger from head to toe, and soon, he saw the white tiger. In an instant, the white tiger glared at him. A majestic pressure instantly struck Hanshan's head. He only felt that his sea of consciousness was like a bolt of lightning on a clear day. He saw a huge white tiger hovering in the sky, surrounded by countless suns, moons, and stars. However, this white tiger only let out a deep roar. In an instant, the countless stars collapsed. Countless galaxies collapsed in an instant. This terrifying scene had caused Shanhan to be incomparably shocked. This is the divine white tiger. Just as he was about to get up, he was shocked again and fell to the ground again. His face was as pale as water. So weak? Xiao Changtian looked at the cold iron mountain in confusion and couldn't help but complain in his heart. Isn't this too empty? He looked tall and muscular, but how could he fall just by standing up? Xiao Changtian couldn't stand it anymore. Get up. Quote. Xiao Changtian stretched out a hand to help tie Shanhan up. As Xiao Changtian's right hand appeared, the terrifying aura of the white tiger instantly disappeared without a trace, as if it didn't exist at all. The pressure on him was greatly reduced. Tai Shanhan kicked his feet and stood up easily. Thank you. Tai Shanhan hurriedly bowed and saluted. His heart was filled with fear, and it was like a surging wave. The senior in front of him only stretched out a hand and was actually able to eliminate the aura of the divine white tiger. Heavens! He could no longer imagine what cultivation level this senior in front of him had. Pay attention to your rest and don't overexert yourself. Xiao Changtian looked at Tai Shanhan thanking him. He didn't refuse, but reminded him patiently. The man in front of him was obviously extremely weak because he had overused himself. This matter required more attention. Otherwise, there would be endless trouble. Yes, sir. Tai Shanhan didn't dare to refute and immediately agreed. The seniors in front of him were all peerless experts, and they were followed by god-eating iron beasts and even divine beast white tigers. He could not afford to provoke such an expert. Why was there a broken sword here? Is this yours? Xiao Changtian looked at Tai Shanhan in confusion. Yes. No, it isn't. Tai Shanhan hurriedly shook his head. The heavenly sword that he had forged had now become a pile of residue. He really did not want to admit it. However, Xiao Changtian could easily tell that this person was lying. Even a 3-year-old child or a primary school student in his previous life could tell that the child in front of him was lying. Your sword isn't very good. Xiao Changtian held the sword hilt and observed it for a while. This sword had too many flaws. His forging skill had actually reached the maximum level long ago. However, it was a waste of energy to forge iron every day, so Xiao Changtian didn't want to make anything to earn money. It was too tiring. The price-performance ratio was low. This was relative to the mortal world. However, if he had cultivation, he could earn a lot of money with his god-grade forging technique. In the world of cultivation, those spirit weapons were quite valuable. How could this sword be broken like this? Xiao Changtian had the divine level forging technique, so he could tell that this sword had been forged not long ago. It seemed to have been bitten by something, which was why the sword had an irregular shape. Sob, sob, sob. Hearing Xiao Changtian's question, the fat Rongrong lowered her head, hugging Xiao Changtian's thigh, rubbing it with all her might. It's you. Xiao Changtian frowned and instantly reacted. Your teeth are so good. Xiao Changtian looked at fatty Rongrong, his face filled with disbelief. Forget it. Since it was my spirit beast that bit your sword to such a state, then I'll accompany you. Come with me to my house. I'll forge a new one for you. Xiao Changtian said lightly. Let's play again. Tai Shanhan was stunned. Could it be that this senior in front of him also knew the art of sword forging? Tai Shanhan nodded and followed behind him in confusion. When all the iron pieces had turned into molten iron, they began to pour. Clang! 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 The sound of a hammer smashing down could be heard. Xiao Changtian held the hammer and smashed it heavily on the steel in front of him. I didn't expect the hammer given by the system to be quite useful. It doesn't take any effort at all. Xiao Changtian held the hammer and struck it, but he didn't feel tired at all. In fact, the more he struck, the more excited he became. Hiss, every strike of Senior's hammer is like a falling star. How terrifying. Mu Jiuhuang was terrified when she saw this. She felt that this hammer seemed to be imbued with a power that could destroy the heavens. Tai Shanhan, who was kneeling beside the small stool, felt his heart trembling as he watched each hammer strike. What kind of power was this? He didn't dare to look anymore. He hurriedly closed his eyes and sealed his six senses. Because he felt that if this continued, the sound of the hammering might even cause his veins to explode. Yi Fan looked at the hammer and his expression became solemn. In the pond, in the chicken coop, and in the bamboo forest, Black Tortoise and the others also looked over. Master picked up that hammer again. The few of them were motionless as they watched attentively. Clang! 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 The sound of hammering could be heard continuously. Finally. 4 hours later, Xiao Changtian finally hammered down and nodded in satisfaction. Come, Rongrong, come and bite. Xiao Changtian smiled faintly, handing the sword he had just forged to Fatty Rongrong. Huh. Fatty Rongrong looked at Xiao Changtian in confusion before biting down. Ding! With a crisp sound, Fatty Rongrong actually lost a tooth. This. Tai Shanhan was stunned. Senior's sword had been forged without any strange phenomenon. It was ordinary, but even so, the Iron Eater's medicine was still not able to stop. Here you go. Xiao Changtian said as he handed the sword to Tai Shanhan. This sword was originally meant to compensate Tai Shanhan. With his successful forging skills, the sword he forged would definitely be much stronger than the one Tai Shanhan had forged before. Tai Shanhan took the treasured sword. In an instant, a sword intent that penetrated his body attacked him. His entire body trembled, and his cultivation even broke through a level. Good sword. Tai Shanhan praised. As a sword forger, he naturally knew how rare the sword in front of him was. Since it's a good sword, then take it. Xiao Changtian nodded in satisfaction. Senior, this sword. You really gave it to me? Tai Shanhan was shocked that such a peerless sword was given to him by Senior. He even felt that he was not worthy of holding this sword. Just take it. If you encounter a mountain bandit or something along the way, it'll be good for self-defense. End quote. Xiao Changtian waved his hand and said indifferently. The muscular man in front of him was too weak. If he met someone on the road, he could use him to protect himself and not be bullied. Chapter 63, Chapter 63, Tai Shanhan was killed, my life is over. __L. Chapter 63, Tai Shanhan was killed, my life is over. __L. He took the sword. Tai Shanhan was stunned on the spot, his face full of disbelief. A divine sword of this level was given to him just like that. Wasn't Senior's magnanimity a little too great? Thank you, Senior. Thank you, Senior. Tai Shanhan kneeled on the ground excitedly, holding the long sword with both hands. His face was full of joy as he knelt on the ground and kowtowed to Xiao Changtian. Alright, it's just a casually forged sword. In my small courtyard, there are too many tools and materials that are lacking. This sword can only be considered to have barely passed. Xiao Changtian waved his hand. His forging skill was at the great success stage. There were still many things that he was not satisfied with. However, there was no other way. There were too few tools in the small courtyard. Alright, it's still early. You should hurry back. Xiao Changtian looked at Tai Shanhan kneeling on the ground and ordered. The muscular man in front of him was too weak. There was no place for anyone to stay in his small courtyard. It was better to hurry back. If she fainted on the way, she could at least find someone to help her during the day. Yes, sir. Tai Shanhan nodded hurriedly. He left the courtyard. Tai Shanhan held the long sword lovingly and waved it gently, bringing with it a series of dragon roars. Senior is really a good person. Such a good sword, and you gave it to me just like that. Senior is really domineering. Mighty. However, Tai Shanhan also knew that such a divine sword must not be exposed to the public. Otherwise, just this heavenly sword alone would cause a huge uproar in the entire immortal cultivation world. Therefore, before he left Daong town, Tai Shanhan put the divine sword Xiao Changtian forged into his ring. Sigh, I've been in seclusion for 1,000 years. Tai Shanhan mocked himself. Unknowingly, he had already left Daong town a great distance away. However, his mind was completely occupied with the matter of the divine sword. He did not notice that he had already arrived above the North Sea. How did I end up in the North Sea? Tai Shanhan looked at the North Sea in front of him and frowned. He was going back to the 10,000 Swords Villa, so why did he come to the North Sea? Just as Tai Shanhan was feeling puzzled, more than a dozen black shadows suddenly appeared. These men in black instantly surrounded Tai Shanhan. Congratulations, Sect leader Tai, for forging the heavenly sword. The person in the lead was half hidden and his voice was muddy. It was obvious that he was hiding himself and did not want others to know. Who are you? Tai Shanhan's expression turned cold. His eyes narrowed as he stared at the dozen or so people around him. His heart sank. He could feel that these dozen auras were definitely not simple. Some of them were even stronger than him. The masked man in the lead even gave him a sense of extreme danger. We are the guides of the Iron Chief. Otherwise, why would the Iron Chief come to the North Sea? The leading man in black laughed. Tai Shanhan's face darkened when he heard this. He closed his eyes and opened them again, instantly recalling everything clearly. It turned out that these people took advantage of the time when he was distracted to use an illusion to change the scene in front of him. It caused him to unintentionally come to the North Sea. Everything was done intentionally by these people. What exactly are you? Are you guys after the heavenly sword? Tai Shanhan said warily, a bad feeling rising in his heart. Hee, Sect leader Tai, we are just nameless people. Rumor has it that the Iron Sect Master spent 1,000 years to forge this sword. The appearance of the heavenly sword has caused a phenomenon of tens of thousands of miles. The few of us want to see the power of the heavenly sword. Sect leader Tai, please do not be stingy. Otherwise, haha. The man in the lead went straight to the point. Humph, borrow. Bringing more than 10 people to surround them is a fake attitude. If you want to rob them openly, then just say it. The heavenly sword has been destroyed. Even if the heavenly sword is still here, I won't hand it over to you. You sneaky people, hiding your heads in dirty faces, and acting like rats. You're not worthy of holding a sword. Iron Mountain Han was furious. As the leader of the 10,000 Swords Villa, he was a famous swordsmith. The sword. It's my life. That was a supreme item. How could these rats in front of him touch it? I just got my hands on this sword, and these people want to snatch it. This was simply a dream. Tai Shanhan was enraged. He would definitely kill these rats in front of him today. Die. Tai Shanhan instantly roused the true essence around his body, and his 5th level tribulation transcendence cultivation instantly erupted. In an instant, the North Sea was filled with surging waves and howling gales. Hee, we're not here to fight. We are here to take the heavenly sword. However, the black figures did not move. Each of them took out a blue bead. The bead moved, and in an instant, more than 10 blue lights were emitted from the bead. The dozen or so beams of blue light turned into arcs and intertwined in the sky. Finally, they gathered at a point, and a blue ball of light instantly formed. Sea Demon Confinement Killing Array. Shanhan punched the blue light curtain, but it didn't change at all. It was as if he had hit soft cotton, making the power of his punch almost equal to zero. After being struck by the same force bounced back from the blue light screen. Shanhan's expression changed immediately. His figure flashed, barely avoiding the rebound attack in front of him. Then, he recognized the array in front of him. The Siren Trap and Kill Array was an array specially used by the Hunter clan's experts in the Tribulation realm. Within the Sea Demon's Confinement Killing Array, the attacks of the Tribulation Transcending experts would be blocked by the powerful sea power. It was as if they were attacking cotton and could not cause any damage. On the contrary, the people outside the array could attack as they pleased. You are humans, but you colluded with the sea race. Shanhan's expression was ferocious, and his ice-cold gaze seemed to want to kill someone. The dozen or so black-clothed men in front of him were using the sea race's Sea Demon Confinement Array. This was an attack that only the royal family of the sea race would use. We only have a beneficial relationship with the sea race. How can we talk about collusion? Sect leader Tai, hand over the sky sword. We don't want to take your life. What we need is the heavenly sword. The leader of the black-clothed men sneered. More than 10 men in black surrounded him, each of them wearing a cold smile. If I don't hand it over. Shanhan's face darkened. The identities of these men in black were definitely not simple. To be able to collude with the royal family of the sea race, how could he be a simple person? If you don't hand it over, then leave your life behind. Chapter 64, Invincible Divine Sword. _1. Chapter 64, Invincible Divine Sword. _1. Die. As soon as the voice sounded, the men in black immediately launched their own attacks on the Siren Confinement Killing Array. More than a dozen streams of power gathered, and colorful True Essence light exploded. It was about to land on the Siren Confinement Killing Array. After falling, Shanhan would be severely injured if not dead. Do you really think you can take me down today? Shanhan's face turned cold and his brows sank. A light flashed on his ring. Clang! A divine sound of a sword rang out, like the roar of a tiger or dragon. Just as the dazzling attack was about to land, a sharp beam shot into the sky and tore through space. Slash! The blue light screen of the Siren Confinement Killing Array was cut open by this sharp light. In just an instant, a hole was torn open. Shanhan's figure turned into a stream of light and flew out of the crack in an instant. What? How is that possible? The experts surrounding Shanhan revealed a look of disbelief. This confinement killing array was borrowed from a demon emperor. It was actually broken just like that. That sword is the heavenly sword. The heavenly sword broke the sea demon's confinement killing array. Go! The leader of the men in black shouted. He did not expect the heavenly sword to be so sharp that it could break the confinement killing array with one strike. However, the sharper the heavenly sword was, the more excited they were. The black-robed man immediately revealed an excited expression as he threw a punch towards Shanhan. He wanted to snatch the heavenly sword. Your cultivation level is higher than mine. Then you'll be fooled, ha ha ha. Shanhan burst into laughter as he watched the leader of the men in black rushing towards him. He was certain that the man in black before him wanted to snatch the sword away. He turned his sword and stabbed at the fist of the man in black. Sword chi whistled. Bang! The black-clothed man's punch carried the power of 10,000 caddies and instantly broke the sword chi. The The heavenly sword is a divine artifact, but your strength is too weak. The man wrapped his fist in true essence and punched at the sword. He thought that Shanhan wanted to fight him with the sharpness of the heavenly sword. However, in the next moment, he realized that he was wrong. Shanhan held his long sword and pierced through his fist, piercing his arm bone, and his sword pierced through his heart. You. The black-robed man revealed an extremely shocked expression. He was so shocked that he could not speak. That sword was too sharp, so sharp that it seemed to be able to pierce through everything. Although his attack had landed on Shanhan's body, it was still too late. However, he would not be able to survive if this sharp divine sword pierced through his heart. Go to hell. Shanhan smiled and immediately swallowed a pill. With a flick of his wrist, he swung his long sword, and the black-robed man in front of him was instantly cut into pieces, turning into a cloud of blood mist. You dare to kill our boss? You're courting death. The dozen men in black behind him immediately rushed towards Shanhan. The only person who can threaten me is dead. Holding the divine sword, Shanhan's confidence increased greatly. Arrogant. Great might golden will, die. More than a dozen experts who were passing the tribulation used their methods together to kill Shanhan. However, Shanhan was holding a long sword, and his figure was extremely agile. The sword lights were like cutting melons and vegetables. Bang 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 bang. Sword light flashed, and the dozen or so black-clothed men were also directly killed. Who else? Shanhan held the divine sword and killed more than a dozen experts in the Tribulation Transcendence realm in a few breaths. Although other than the leader of the black-robed men, the rest were only at the first level of the Tribulation Transcendence realm. But now that he had the divine sword in his hand, Shanhan couldn't help but feel excited. The divine sword forged by the senior was too terrifying. Pa pa pa. At this moment, a few more claps sounded. Shanhan was startled because he did not sense any aura approaching. I'm here. A voice sounded behind Shanhan. Shanhan's expression suddenly changed drastically. He suddenly pulled his body away and saw that a pitch-black catfish sea king had already appeared there. You. Shanhan's expression changed drastically. He really didn't expect that there would be a sea king behind those people. Did you command them? Shanhan was in despair. Although he could kill those humans at the Tribulation Transcendence realm with his sword, he had no chance against the Sea King. In fact, because he was on the sea, it was very difficult for him to escape. No, the person behind them is in a cooperative relationship with me. The Catfish Sea King shook his head. You also want to seize the sword? Shanhan's eyes were alert. Originally, I was disdainful of the weapons of the human race. However, just now, this sword was actually able to cut through the siren confinement killing array. King Catfish said. So, are you going to seize the sword? Shanhan said. Ha! The Catfish Sea King chuckled, and an overwhelming pressure instantly crushed out. Puff! Under the terrifying aura of Catfish Sea King, Shanhan was like a small boat on the sea. He spat out a mouthful of blood and flew backward. Am I going to die here today? Shanhan was terrified and began to burn the blood essence in his body. The scene above the sea was seen by a pair of green eyes. Then, a green light flew out. In the small courtyard, Xiao Changtian, who had finished forging, was resting on a rocking chair. In fact, he did not feel tired. It was just that he had to take good care of his body for the sake of being invincible. Forget it, I'll go and take a nap. Xiao Changtian turned over and felt that it was better to take a rest. After saying that, he walked into the room. Mu Jiuhuang stood rooted to the ground and looked at the hammer. Her face was pale. That hammer gave her an extremely dangerous feeling. This hammer? Mu Jiuhuang stared at the hammer, her phoenix eyes focused. She couldn't help but reach out to touch the hammer. However, she was surprised to find that no matter how hard she tried, she could not pick up the hammer. How did this happen? Mu Jiuhuang was shocked. In an instant, a tall figure appeared in her sea of consciousness, holding this hammer in his hand. In front of her, powerful figures appeared one after another. She could not look directly at those figures. However, in her trance, she suddenly saw the tall figure smash out with his hammer. Instantly, the powerful figures in front of him were directly destroyed. Mu Jiuhuang was so frightened that she fell to the ground. Don't even think about it. This hammer recognizes its owner. At this moment, the lazy voice of the green-haired turtle sounded from the pool. Chapter 65, Chapter 65, Who asked you to call me Sea King? _L. Chapter 65, Who asked you to call me Sea King? _L. I see. Thank you for your reminder, Senior Black Tortoise. Mu Jiuhuang said respectfully. If it wasn't for the Black Tortoise's temporary power, her sea of consciousness would have collapsed. Master, he's too powerful. Mu Jiuhuang looked into the room and recalled the great emperor she had seen in her master's book. Could it be that master killed those people with one hammer? At the same time, the green-haired turtle's expression changed. It was originally blowing bubbles in the pool when it suddenly received a green light and immediately surfaced. There's actually such a bold fellow who dares to snatch a sword gifted by master. The green-haired turtle directly broadcasted the scene to the small courtyard. How dare you? You're just a little bug. Do you want to die? In the chicken coop, the old hen raised her proud head, her eyes burning with anger. Alpha stopped the game in his hands. The chaos ant walked out from the bushes. Let's go. The primal chaos ant said indifferently, the red light on its two antennae flashing. Instantly the four divine beasts carrying Fatty Rongrong disappeared from the courtyard. In the next moment, they arrived above the North Sea. At this moment, above the North Sea, Catfish Demon King held the sword forged by Xiao Changtian in one hand and strangled Tai Shanhan's neck with the other. His expression was arrogant. Ha ha ha, this sword is mine. The Catfish Sea King laughed loudly. He looked at the sword in his hand and was extremely satisfied. However, when it raised its head, it suddenly saw 5 demon beasts suddenly appear in the sky. Moreover, he didn't know when he had appeared. Who are you? Catfish Sea King stared at Black Tortoise and the others with a puzzled expression. The few demons in front of him were flying in the air in front of him, but he actually could not see through the cultivation of these demon beasts in front of him. He was the Sea King. A 9th-level Tribulation Transcendent Sea Race Demon Beast. Could it be that there was an existence stronger than him? The only explanation was that the few demon beasts in front of him had used a special method to hide their auras. Thinking of the key point, Catfish Sea King instantly calmed down. Since that was the case, there was no need for him to be too flustered. I am the Sea Clan Sea King. How many? Catfish Sea King wanted to speak, but before he could say the word position, Black Tortoise directly slapped him. Pa! With a crisp slap, Catfish Sea King was sent flying. Xiao Changtian's sword and Tai Shanhan flew out together with Catfish Sea King, both of them getting rid of their restraints. Tai Shanhan steadied his body and waved his hand. The divine sword returned to his hand. Thank you, Senior. Seeing Black Tortoise and the others, Tai Shanhan was overjoyed. Originally, he thought that he was finished, but the few great divine beasts in Senior's small courtyard had all arrived. You dare to let others snatch Master's things? The old hen spread out her domain, and endless flames seemed to burn the heavens. The terrifying aura directly pressed down on Tai Shanhan until he couldn't breathe. IIJ2. Tai Shanhan wanted to explain, but he was so ashamed that he could only lower his head. Thanks to Senior's great love, he actually let the divine sword be snatched by others. It was indeed his fault. He really couldn't explain this matter. Alright, this catfish is stronger than you. It's understandable that you can't beat it. But this ugly catfish actually dares to call himself the Sea King. You're courting death. The green-haired turtle was furious. Other than him, there was actually someone who dared to call him the Sea King. How audacious. Could it be that these people didn't know that the name Sea King had been taken by him? As he spoke, he slapped her again. Pa! A clear and loud slap sounded. The catfish Sea King was like a deflated ball as it flew backward with a terrified expression. Big brother. My lord. Grandpa. Spark me. When the catfish Sea King saw the black tortoise's true body, it was so scared that it went limp. It did not dare to fight back at all and hurriedly begged for forgiveness. However, the black tortoise's slap did not stop. This person actually dared to call him the Sea King. He couldn't tolerate it. Remember, in the future, only I can be called the Sea King in this world. Do you understand? Black Tortoise said angrily. Such a domineering name. You, a small catfish demon beast, actually dared to call yourself that. You're simply tired of living. Sea King. Isn't Sea King just a title? We all call the 9th level tribulation transcenders of the sea race the Sea King. End quote. Senior, is there a problem? Catfish Sea King looked at Black Tortoise in confusion. It was just a title, so why was Senior so angry? And many people call themselves the Sea King. Fuck. Come, bring me to your king. The black tortoise grabbed the ugly catfish demon beast with its palm. In an instant, the two figures disappeared from where they were. Senior Black Tortoise. Tai Shanhan was a little worried when he saw this scene. However, he was not worried about the black tortoise. He was worried about the sea tribe. He was worried that Senior Black Tortoise wouldn't destroy the Sea King of the entire sea race alone, right? There's a limit to our attacks. The Black Tortoise will at most teach them a lesson. These ant-like existences, unless they dare to be disrespectful to Master or Master gives the order, we generally won't kill them. Alpha used his spiritual power to condense a chessboard in the void. It would take some time for Black Tortoise to return, so he could continue the chess game from before. Very quickly. The Catfish Sea King gave him the coordinates, and Black Tortoise used his space god art. In just a moment, he appeared in a huge palace. The interior of this huge palace was brightly lit, and countless luminous pearls decorated the entire wall. Countless mermaids danced in the hall. A huge whale was lying on a huge seat. Its body was filled with mermaids. The mermaids' faces were burning and their bodies were limp. This huge whale was the emperor of the sea race. Whale Emperor. There's no one. Bear with it for a while. I'll be able to end the battle soon. The Whale Shark King lingered among the mermaids. His expression was extremely focused. At this moment, a voice suddenly rang out. You are their emperor. The sudden voice caused the Whale King, who was focused on the throne, to suddenly tremble. His body shivered and he rolled down from the throne. In an instant, his body shrunk by more than 2 times. Who is it? Who is it? Come out, I promise I won't beat you to death. The Whale King shouted with a puzzled expression. He didn't see anyone. Hey, I'm here. You're as handsome as a jade tree and as beautiful as Panan. You're comparable to Shiman Qing and have peerless beauty. There was no black tortoise as handsome as Senior in the world. The Whale Emperor instantly used his spiritual will to write hundreds of words of praise on the ground before him. Yes, that's more like it. Looking at the hundreds of compliments, Black Tortoise nodded. At least you're on the right track. If your eyes aren't good, go and take a look. This Black Tortoise is so domineering, yet you actually dare to call me an ugly turtle. If this was in the past, I would have beaten you to death long ago. However, Master is a human. He is merciful and doesn't allow me to kill as I please. You are considered lucky. Black Tortoise said indifferently. Yes, yes, yes. The dried fish Whale Emperor hurriedly jumped up and down on the ground to express its gratitude. At the same time, he was shocked. The Black Tortoise actually had a master, and that master was. Today, I only want to say one thing. From now on, the name Sea King can only be used by me on the Tianyuan continent. No one can use it, understand? Black Tortoise said domineeringly. Bada. Bada. The Whale Emperor quickly jumped up and down on the ground in agreement. Humph. If there's any Sea Clan member who calls himself the Sea King in the future, I'll come and find you, do you hear me? Black Tortoise said coldly. With that, he left in a flash. On the same day, something big happened on Tianyuan Road. The Sea Race announced to the countless races of demons and devils that the Sea King would change his name from now on. The Sea Demons at the 9th level of the Tribulation Realm would all change their names to Sea King. Among the humans, could it be that the Sea Race was plotting something again? Among the demon race, this damned Sea Race actually wanted to monopolize the poison. In the demon race, the title June was higher than King. Within the demon race, was that Whale Emperor of the Sea Race crazy again? All the races on the Tianyuan continent were puzzled by this matter. They had even sent out all sorts of channels to find out. However, he did not find any clues. The Whale Emperor didn't mention anything about this matter, so no one knew what was going on. Except for Black Tortoise and the others. Shanhan was even more shocked. Lord Black Tortoise had single-handedly changed the situation of the Sea Race on the Tianyuan continent. Alright, we should go back. After Black Tortoise came back, he told Shanhan not to lose the precious sword made by his master. Then, he cast a look of approval toward the depths of the sea. A bit of Xuanwu Qi fell as a reward for the 1,000-year-old Tingjiao. Walala. 2. Under the sea, Tingjiao, who had obtained the celestial martial Qi, was surrounded by a faint silver light. His strength had increased by a step. He happily wandered around the surface of the sea, his gaze gradually becoming firm. In the future, follow Big Brother Black Tortoise. In the dark chamber. The black shadow behind the man with the skull mask had mostly disappeared because of the flames from last time. I didn't expect that there would be such an old fellow among the human race. It seems that the plan needs to be carried out one step ahead of time. We can't delay any longer. The skull-masked man said in a hoarse voice. He pinched the blood-red token in his hand. In the Tianyuan continent, in countless sects, in different corners, the tokens in the rings of people lit up with red light. Chapter 67, Chapter 67, The Pavilion Master of Heavenly Secrets arrives to open a branch of the bookstore. I. Chapter 67, The Pavilion Master of Heavenly Secrets arrives to open a branch of the bookstore. I. The next morning. Xiao Changtian was carrying Miao Mengshi and taking Alpha for a walk. Not long after they walked on the street, a man walked up to them. He was wearing a Daoist robe and had an awkward smile on his face. Senior. Who else could this man in Taoist robes be but the pavilion master of the secret pavilion? He looked at Xiao Changtian with an awkward smile. The respect in his eyes deepened. There was no other reason than the fact that the pavilion master had read the book that Xiao Changtian sold at the courier station. The expression after reading the book was one of shock. Fear. It was unbelievable. In the world described in the book, the experts with unparalleled magnificence far exceeded the imagination of the countless cultivators on the Tianyuan continent. On the Tianyuan continent, cultivators ranged from Qi condensation to Mahayana. Above Mahayana was Emperor. It was already incredible for powerful cultivators to move mountains and fill seas, and shatter mountains and seas with their fists. However, in Senior's book world, with a wave of a hand, the galaxy collapsed and the stars fell. It even caused the river of time to collapse. This was something that the immortal cultivators did not even dare to imagine. However, the description in the Senior's book made people feel as if they were there. As the pavilion master of the secret pavilion, he was someone who could predict fate and pry into karma. How could he not understand that these people had already surpassed fate? Before this, he had always thought that Senior was a Mahayana realm cultivator. But now, it seemed that he was too short. He was too short-sighted. Senior must be an invincible old monster from that era. He had lived for countless eras. Such an unparalleled existence simply made people tremble in fear just thinking about it. Oh, it's you. I remember now. I said before that one wanted to make a painting for you. I'll draw you a picture when I come back from my walk. Desolate Chang also smiled embarrassedly. At that time, he took away the Nanming Primordial fire painting of the Pavilion Master of Heavenly Secrets as a congratulatory gift to the great son Immortal. At that time, he had promised to paint a painting and give it to the Pavilion Master of Heavenly Secrets. But later on, the matter of opening a bookstore made him so dazzled that he forgot about it. Senior, let me accompany you for a walk. The Pavilion Master asked with a smile. As for the painting, he did not take it to heart at all. To be able to use the Nanming Ignis portrait to form a connection with a senior was not an easy thing to do. How could he dare to ask for a senior's return? All right. Xiao Changtian nodded. Then, the two of them walked out of Daong town. Senior, your book is simply amazing. Did those peerless experts really exist? The Pavilion Master asked respectfully. Although he had guessed it correctly, he still found it hard to believe. Those powerhouses were too powerful. Of course it's true. There are too many powerful people in this world. Xiao Changtian said lightly. This was the Tianyuan continent, the world of cultivators, even though he had never seen those powerful cultivators. However, he had witnessed the actions of the great son Immortal. Even though the great son Immortal was so powerful, it was said that he was only in the golden elixir realm. It seemed that he had broken through the nascent soul realm recently. Xiao Changtian couldn't imagine what was beyond the nascent soul realm. Those powerful cultivators should be able to pick stars with their bare hands, right? Hiss. It's really too powerful. The pavilion master of the secret pavilion could not help but praise with a look of disbelief on his face. He was an 8th level tribulation transcendence expert, but according to the senior's description, he was an existence that could be crushed to death with just a finger in front of those people. Of course, ordinary people still can't come into contact with that level, so there's no need to worry too much. Xiao Changtian looked at the shocked expression of the Pavilion Master of Heavenly Secrets and comforted him with a smile. The powerful ones were high and mighty. They would not attack ordinary people like themselves. Yes. The Pavilion Master Lord of Tianji heaved a sigh of relief. As the two of them walked, Xiao Changtian carried Miao Mengshi in his arms and she started snoring. You little kitten, you really love to sleep. Xiao Changtian couldn't help but laugh, his face full of affection. The pavilion master of the secret pavilion looked curiously at the kitten in Xiao Changtian's arms. Senior, you like cats too? The pavilion master of the secret pavilion smiled faintly. His voice was filled with curiosity. Senior was so powerful, but he actually liked to raise cats. Moreover, he could not see any spiritual energy fluctuations from this cat. But just as he was about to say something, the kitten sneaked a glance at Xiao Changtian's hand. In an instant, a domineering pressure instantly enveloped the pavilion master of the secret pavilion. In the mind of the pavilion master of the secret pavilion, a huge white tiger that traversed the sky stood on a star, and its king's aura completely erupted. By White Tiger. The pavilion master of the secret pavilion was extremely shocked. In front of the white tiger's terrifying aura, he only felt that it was difficult to breathe. However, the white tiger only gave him a contemptuous glance before it went back into Xiao Changtian's arms. Phew! After the white tiger's gaze left, the pavilion master of the secret pavilion finally relaxed. He was almost scared to death. Senior is carrying the divine white tiger in his arms. He had naively thought that Senior was carrying an ordinary kitten in his arms. After strolling around for a while, the pavilion master of the secret pavilion saw that it was about time to tell him his purpose for today. Senior, I want to cooperate with you. Your book is not only sold well in the North Barren continent, but also in other continents. There are even people selling pirated copies. I'm from the Central Heaven continent, so I can open a bookstore branch for you. I will invest 10,000 gold taels. The pavilion master said seriously. 10,000 gold taels. Hearing this number, Xiao Changtian stopped in his tracks. He looked at the pavilion master of the secret pavilion as if he was looking at a moving treasury. I've actually had this idea for a long time. Let's go back to the small courtyard and talk about it in detail. Xiao Changtian was delighted. He wasn't thinking about the 10,000 gold taels. Instead, the original intention of opening a bookstore was to make money. If he could become the richest mortal in the world before the road to invincibility was opened, wouldn't he be able to roam the 5 continents at any time? Although he had to hide, he could not stay in the small courtyard all the time. Young people still had to experience the Sea of Stars. Besides, what was the difference between those who pirated his books and robbers? It was just a difference in form. This kind of person was very hateful. Jiu, prepare some tea. Walking into the courtyard, Xiao Changtian asked Mu Jiuhuang to prepare tea. He was going to carry out his grand plan. Which continent are you from? The Central Heaven continent. How far is it from here? Senior, I have a map of the Tianyuan continent with me. The two of them began to discuss intensely in the small courtyard. At the same time, West Bull continent, rain was coming. Chapter 68, Chapter 68, Darkness arrives, the West Bull continent bears the brunt. _I. Chapter 68, Darkness arrives, the West Bull continent bears the brunt. _I. West Bull continent. A huge stone statue of a green ox stood tall and lofty. The green bull was thousands of feet high, piercing the clouds. It emitted waves of Dao runes. Rumor had it that this was a clone left behind by a divine ox before it ascended. The identity of this divine ox could even be traced back to before the Di Luo era. Xingyun got its name from this. However, at this moment, a ball of black aura enveloped the huge green bull, causing the Western Bull continent to become dark and gloomy. What kind of demon is causing trouble? At this moment, Hu Lai from beyond the heavens struck out with his palm. That palm bloomed with dazzling golden light, like the palm of Tathagata. Accompanied by the low and deep roar of the Buddha, the Tathagata divine palm that was like a brilliant sun enveloped the black gas. Bang! The Tathagata divine palm collided with the black gas and emitted a violent tremor. It was like a thunderous roar. The Western Paradise has acted. I wonder which Buddha in the Western Paradise. This black fog should be directly defeated by the Tathagata divine palm, right? Countless cultivators stared at the huge palm that was emitting golden Buddhist light and the black gas that filled the sky. There was a lot of discussion. Everyone's gaze was attracted by the strange phenomenon in the sky and did not notice the sneaky figures at all. Those people came from the black fog. He directly landed in the Yi family of the West Bull continent. The Yi family was one of the 4 major families in the West Bull continent. At this moment, a middle-aged man with a dignified gaze stood in the family courtyard. He was wearing a gray robe. If Yi Fan was here, he would definitely be able to recognize that the man in front of him was his father. Yi clan leader. Yi Jingnan. Welcome, emissaries. Yi Jingnan stood in the courtyard and bowed slightly. A smile appeared on his old-fashioned face. In front of him was the man in black who had just descended from the black fog. Each of these men in black had a jade token hanging on their waists. A blood-red light shone on the jade token. Patriarchy, there's no time to lose. Where's that genius of your family? Hurry up and call him out. Now is the time to absorb the Green Bull's power. The leader of the group was a man in black. His voice was cold and mechanical, devoid of any emotion. Sir, this is my son, Yi Hao. I've already transferred the Supreme Being Bone into his body. The Supreme Being Bone and the Divine Ox Overlord body will definitely be able to withstand the power of the Green Bull and achieve the Great Vehicle Realm. Yi Jingnan waved his hand. Behind him, a young man who looked 50% similar to Yi Fan walked out. This person was Yi Fan's half-brother, Yi Hao. Yi Jingnan took out the Supreme Being Bone from Yi Fan's body and transplanted it into Yi Hao's body through a mysterious method. Their goal was to wait for this moment. Very good. Let's start over there. The leader of the men in black nodded and threw out a black pearl. The bead emitted a rolling black gas. The black gas looked very similar to the black gas that enveloped the Green Bull. Ah! The black gas rushed into Yi Hao's body in an instant. Because of the impact, Yi Hao couldn't help but scream in pain. However, after that, his cultivation realm actually began to soar continuously. As Yi Hao's realm soared, the huge Green Bull in the West Bull continent was actually swallowed by the black fog. The palm strike from the Buddha of the Western Paradise seemed to have sunk into a swamp as it was similarly absorbed. What is it? It swallowed my power. Not good, a demon has appeared. Run! A solemn voice rang out from the Western Paradise. In the direction of the Western Paradise, a gigantic golden Buddhist light appeared. After that, it vanished from the spot. Xiaoxi escaped. That was the Western Paradise that was above the 4 great clans. How could it escape so quickly? Instantly, countless exclamations sounded. The 4 great clans of the Western Bull continent and the Western Paradise were all peak existences. Run! The cultivators of the West Bull continent were not fools. They instantly understood the seriousness of the matter. In the Yi family, Yi Hao had been completely enveloped by the black fog, and only the Supreme Being Bone in his body was emitting a golden light. It seemed to be trying its best to resist the corrosion of the black fog. The moment the Supreme Being Bone emitted a golden light, Yi Fan, who was chopping firewood in the small courtyard, suddenly froze. He could sense that the Supreme Being Bone was in great pain. It seemed to be asking for help. What happened? Yi Fan straightened his back and looked out of the small courtyard with his extremely ordinary eyes. However, that pair of ordinary eyes rippled like a clear stream. After the stream water rippled, everything in the West Bull continent was suddenly seen. Supreme Being Bone. Yi family. Seeing all of this, a cold light flashed across Yi Fan's face. Then, he lowered his head and slowly chopped the firewood. However, a silver-white light flew out from the axe. In just a few breaths, the silver-white light attached itself to the surface of the Supreme Being bone. No matter how hard the black gas attacked, it was still unable to erode the Supreme Being bone. Yi Hao's cultivation stopped at the 9th level of the Tribulation Transcendence realm. The huge green bull had completely disappeared. Boundless black clouds covered the entire West Bull continent. Countless families in the West Bull continent were shocked. Which junior is causing trouble? One by one, the old men who had half their bodies turned into dirt felt the process of absorbing the heaven and earth spiritual energy pause. They crawled out of their respective ancestral lands. However, just as they appeared, Yi Hao's voice appeared in the void. Choose to submit or die. Yi Hao's body was filled with black gas, and his voice was like a bull's. His terrifying aura crushed toward these old guys. Yi Hao, you're just a junior. Don't be arrogant. How dare you be so impudent to this old man? You're courting death. The Yi family disciples are really too arrogant. These elders were all figures on the same level as the ancestor. A junior wanted them to choose to submit. How could he tolerate it? In an instant, those patriarchs soared into the sky. Countless true essence lights turned into rainbows. Then die. Yi Hao faced the light with a calm expression and slapped down. Bang! Countless streams of light turned into a bloody mist and exploded in the space. Those ancestors were all killed instantly by Yi Hao's slap. How is that possible? The ancestor was defeated? How did Yi Hao suddenly become so powerful? What exactly happened? Countless bewildered voices rang out. However, Yi Hao didn't give them any time to react. His powerful aura enveloped them and his voice was cold, you choose to submit or die. The threatening voice made people shudder. Countless clan heads saw that their ancestors had been killed. How could they dare to resist? They all chose to submit. We surrender. Chapter 69, Chapter 69, Secret of the Dark Chamber. The Ancient Door. Chapter 69, Secret of the Dark Chamber. The Ancient Door. If you choose to submit, you must pay the price. Yi Hao's voice was cold. He stood in the void and waved his hand. A blood-red light scattered down. What is this? Why do I feel like something has been planted in my soul? It's a soul imprint. We've been planted with a soul imprint. The experts who chose to submit revealed shocked expressions. If they were to betray him, they would only end up being destroyed. Each family will send out a junior to search for Yi Fan's whereabouts throughout the continent. Carry out the order. Yi Hao stood in the air and said coldly. Then, his figure disappeared into the Yi family courtyard. Is Yi Fan really still alive? Yi Hao looked confused. However, the Supreme Being bone in his body could not be fused. The reason given by the black-robed envoy was that the original owner of the Supreme Being bone was not dead. Everyone from the Yi family was puzzled. The Supreme Being bone in Yi Fan's heart was dug out. How could he be alive? If I can't find Yi Fan within a month, I'll kill half of them. Yi Hao thought for a moment and gave another order. Then, his figure flashed and he arrived in the secret chamber. With a flick of his hand, a crystal ball appeared in front of him. The crystal ball connected, and on the other end of the screen, the man wearing the skull mask appeared. You woke me up. Who are you? Yi Hao's face was cold as he stared at the skeleton man. You don't have to care who I am. You only need to join forces with the others and open the door of antiquity for me in 100 days, Green Bull Emperor. On the other side, the man wearing a skull mask had a hoarse voice and instantly recognized Yi Hao's true identity. Instantly, Yi Hao's face froze. The real Yi Hao had died long ago. The Yi Hao in front of him had his soul taken over by the Green Bull Emperor when he was 5 years old. However, the Green Bull Emperor's soul had also fallen into a deep sleep. He only woke up today. So, your plan was so deep that you even promised that idiot Xingyun to help him break through to the ancient emperor realm just to wake me up. Help you open the door of antiquity. Do you know what's inside? Once it's opened, the consequences are not something the Tianyuan continent can bear. Yi Hao's voice was low. When he mentioned the ancient door, there was even a hint of fear in the depths of his eyes. However, the Green Bull Emperor seemed to have thought of something and suddenly asked, "You also survived from that era?" The West Bull continent, Shao clan, Lin clan, Chu clan, 3 of the 4 great clans were gathered here. What's going on with that Yi Hao from the Yi family? Why did he suddenly become so much stronger? Even the ancestor and the others were not his match. Chu Tianfeng asked. I think it has something to do with that black mist. The Shao clan's patriarch, Shao Ding, said. There's no use worrying about this now. We've already been planted with a soul mark. Even if we want to resist, we can't do it. We can only listen obediently and go find Yi Fan. Lin Baishui sighed. But, wasn't Yi Fan killed by the Yi family long ago? Behind Lin Baishui, a clear voice sounded. This was Lin Baishui's daughter, Lin Tingji. Today, Lin Tingji was wearing a moon-white long dress. Her entire person was like a lotus flower in clear water. She did not put on any makeup, but her facial features were exquisite. That standard figure made her a great beauty. The few family heads present were slightly stunned when they heard this. Lin Tingji was engaged to Yi Fan a few months ago. After that, there was news that Yi Fan was persecuted by the Yi family. Although the Yi family did it very secretly, there were spies sent out among the major families. Everyone had a tacit understanding of this kind of thing. Lin Baishui shook his head and said in a deep voice, from the looks of it now, things aren't that simple. It's very likely that Yi Fan isn't dead. The Supreme Being bone in his heart has been dug out, and he's still alive. The other 2 family heads were shocked. The Supreme Being bone in his heart was a life-threatening thing. They were all surprised by Yi Fan's tenacious life force. As for Lin Tingji, her pretty face was filled with joy, and her beautiful eyes revealed a faint look of anticipation. Yi Fan, can I still see you? Lin Tingji's heart started beating. Originally, she was Yi Fan's fiancée. Yi Fan didn't die. Did that mean that they still had a chance? However, Lin Baishui's cold voice instantly interrupted her, without the Supreme Being bone, Yi Fan is just trash. In front of Yi Hao, he can only die. Then Lin Tingji wanted to say that she would go and find Yi Fan and ask him to run away quickly. However, he swallowed his words back when he said that. If Yi Fan ran away, wouldn't half of the Lin family die? Suddenly, Lin Tingji was caught in a dilemma. Good, Tingji, the Lin family, let you go find Yi Fan. Lin Baishui said in a low voice. Me? Father, Lin Tingji wanted to refuse, bring Yi Fan back, and let him die. This was absolutely impossible. However, she did not want to see her family members die tragically. Therefore, Lin Tingji didn't want to go. However, a true essence voice transmission made her change her mind. Tingji, this time, go to the North Barren State to find Yi Fan and bring him to the 9 Phoenix dynasty to ask for help. You have to find Yi Fan first. Only then can we survive to the greatest extent. Lin Baishui's true essence voice transmission rang in Lin Tingji's mind. Lin Tingji was stunned at first, but she reacted in an instant. He immediately nodded and agreed. That's right. Although Yi Hao was powerful, the #1 expert of the human race was the 9 Phoenix matriarch. Father, I understand. Lin Tingji's expression was solemn. This matter could not be taken lightly. There was no guarantee that the Yi family would be looking for Lin Tingji right now. If the Yi family found Lin Tingji first, that would be the scene of true despair. Thus, Lin Tingji set off. At the same time, the news of the Western Bull Continent's mishap instantly spread across the entire continent. Something happened in the West Bull Continent. In the courtyard. The Pavilion Master of Heavenly Secrets, who was chatting with Xiao Changtian, and Mu Jiuhuang, who was feeding the turtle, both had a change in expression. In the Great Sun Sect's main hall, the expressions of perfected Zhongxian and the other two, who were guiding the cultivation of perfected Daong, also changed. In the end, they still made a move. Do we need to tell Senior about this? The three of them looked at each other. After hesitating for a while, the three of them finally decided to tell the Senior everything they knew. The water here was too deep. They couldn't grasp it and could only let the Seniors measure it. Chapter 70, Daoist Xingyun's Breakthrough. Let him die. Chapter 70, Daoist Xingyun's Breakthrough. Let him die. In the courtyard. The Pavilion Master of the Secret Pavilion and Mu Jiuhuang were both stunned. The West Bull Continent was enveloped by a mysterious force. The situation of the entire West Bull Continent was unknown. We have to find out in a day. Mu Jiuhuang's expression changed and she immediately sent a message. She had checked the information from the 9 Phoenix dynasty and found that the Black Mist's methods were very similar to the mastermind behind the Dark Fiend Daoist. What's wrong? Xiao Changtian heard the voice of the Pavilion Master of Heavenly Secrets suddenly stop at the critical moment. He asked in confusion. What? Oh. I was talking about the West Bull Continent just now. West Bull Continent. The Secret Pavilion Master came back to his senses, but he was still in a daze. His mind was still thinking about the matter of the West Bull Continent being enveloped by the black fog. I won't go to the West Bull Continent for now. Xiao Changtian said lightly. Senior knows. The Pavilion Master of the Secret Pavilion was stunned. He had just received the news. Senior had found out faster than him. Yes. Xiao Changtian nodded. It was such a simple matter. In the 5 continents, only the West Bull Continent was controlled by the Buddhist sect and the 4 great clans. Moreover, the surnames of these 4 families were not simple. If his bookstore branch opened there, it would definitely cause friction with these families. Xiao Changtian thought about it and felt that it was safer to go to the Nanbu continent and the Zhongtian continent first. He knew Maniac Chu from the Nanbu continent, he knew that old man from the Zhongtian continent, and this person in front of him. What was this person called again? Xiao Changtian suddenly felt a little awkward. They had known each other for such a long time, but he didn't know the other party's surname. By the way, what's your surname? Do you think I don't know your name? Xiao Changtian asked awkwardly. I am Mo Tianji. The Pavilion Master of Heavenly Secrets hurriedly replied, but he was extremely happy in his heart. Senior was actually asking for his name. Did this mean that he had obtained the recognition of his seniors? That was great. Mo Tianji was overjoyed and hurriedly replied. Mo Tianji, good name. Xiao Changtian murmured. The names of these fortune-tellers were all mysterious. I won't go to the West Bull Continent for now. Let's start with the South Port Continent and the North Barren Continent. By the way, what time is it now? Xiao Changtian said as he looked up at the sky, because he realized that he was a little hungry. Then, he reacted and looked up to see the sun hanging high in the sky. It was already noon. Go buy some vegetables. Yi Fan, go get 2 caddies of wine. I'm in a good mood today, so I'll drink 2 glasses. Xiao Changtian instructed Mu Jiuhuang and Yi Fan. There was finally some progress on the opening of the bookstore branch today. Yes. Mu Jiuhuang and Yi Fan nodded respectfully and left the courtyard to buy some food and wine. With the bookstore in business, he was also a rich man. At least he could eat a little better every meal. At the same time, in the central heaven continent. Nebula Sect. A huge nebula enveloped the sect. It looked extremely illusory and filled with an indescribable holiness. In the deepest part of the nebula, Daoist Xingyun was carefully applying the ointment to Xing Ling. That senior's methods are really heaven-defying. It's only been a few days, but your natural lung meridian has been completely healed. From today onwards, you can cultivate freely. Daoist Nebula looked at Ling in front of him. Her face was no longer as pale as before. It was full of redness. She was extremely gratified. This time, the North Province's execution was considered to be a blessing in disguise. That big brother is really amazing. Even Xing Ling had a look of admiration on her face. That's right. During this period of time, grandfather is also about to touch the threshold of the great vehicle realm. Ling, don't come to grandfather's place these few days. If the lightning tribulation falls, it might hurt you at any time. Chapter 71, Chapter 71, Chapter 71 Traitor. _I. Chapter 71, Chapter 71 Traitor. _I. In the dark chamber, a blood-red light flashed. Rumble. On the Starcloud Peak, Daoist Xingyun's figure was directly submerged in hundreds of lightning bolts. The thunder exploded, causing the array formation that was set up earlier to be as fragile as glass. It emitted cracking sounds and directly shattered into pieces. Will Grandpa be alright? Xing Ling closed her eyes and asked worriedly. Ling, don't worry. Sect Master Xing Tianzi said in a deep voice. Shanhan was neither sad nor happy, and one could not hear any changes in her emotions. As the sect leader, he knew that anyone could panic at this moment, but he could not. Even though deep in his eyes, there was a deep worry, but he hid it well in front of everyone. Xing Tianzi's voice was calm and confident. It was like a stabilizing needle that calmed the hearts of the Nebula sect cultivators. Xing Ling also slowly opened her eyes. Her gaze became firm as she looked at the peak of the mountain. Don't be afraid. Grandfather will definitely be able to overcome the lightning tribulation. Xing Ling prayed silently. Everyone's eyes were fixed on Daoist Xingyun, who was under the lightning tribulation. He did not notice that a red light flashed on the ring of an elder standing at the edge. The elder's expression turned cold. He stared at Daoist Xingyun who was in the lightning, ready to attack at any moment. Boom! In the hundreds of lightning bolts, Daoist Xingyun's entire body emitted a silvery white light that was like starlight. Beneath his feet was a galaxy. Hundreds of lightning attacks landed on his body like dense raindrops, but they were all blocked by the silver light. Daoist Nebula was only struck by the power of the lightning, and his body kept retreating. I couldn't even handle the first lightning tribulation of the Mahayana stage, so it's even more impossible for me to break through to the Mahayana stage. Destroy. As Daoist Nebula retreated, the power gathered in the galaxy under his feet. With a roar, the galaxy was suspended upside down and turned into a stream. Bang! The Milky Way was suspended upside down and collided with the hundreds of thunderbolts. The two extreme forces collided, and a huge white light erupted between the heavenly secrets. The light was so dazzling that everyone present closed their eyes and found it difficult to look straight at it. Grandpa, Grandpa. Xingling Eri shouted anxiously. The lightning tribulation of the great vehicle ream was too terrifying. The power of the explosion caused the nebula Sect to tremble from 10,000 meters away. Although it was difficult for everyone to look at it, they could still hear the entire nebula wind collapse in an instant. The towering star cloud peak was completely turned into a pile of dust at this moment. Ancestor. Even Xing Tianzi, who was pretending to be calm, revealed his worry. The elders and disciples were all trembling in fear. They all extended their divine senses. However, just as their spiritual will came into contact with the space in front of them, it was instantly crushed by the two forces that were entangled and collided. It was crushed into powder. The elders were all experts at the tribulation transcendence realm. Their divine senses were extremely powerful, and they were the peak existences of the Tian Yuan continent. But now, he couldn't even spy. It was enough to prove how terrifying it was when the two forces collided with the vortex of the stars. There was only one thought in everyone's mind. Under such a terrifying impact, could the ancestor really survive? The elder who was ready to attack at any time hid in a corner, and a sinister sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth. Then, he contacted the ring with his spiritual sense, wanting to report the situation here. However, at this moment. Buzz! Suddenly, the dazzling white light began to tremble violently. Among them, one of the small black dots became more and more powerful. In a few breaths, it directly exploded the white light. Boom! After a loud bang, Daoist Xingyun, who was covered in blood and had cracks all over his body, rushed out from the middle. Phew! Daoist Xingyun, who had rushed out, was panting heavily. His hair was disheveled and he looked extremely miserable. He did not look like a 9th-level tribulation transcendence expert at all. However, no one present was bothered by this. In an instant, waves of cheers sounded. Woo! Great, the ancestor dodged the first lightning tribulation. One almost thought that our ancestor was dead. I didn't expect our ancestor to survive. Grandpa is fine. That's great. Xingling said excitedly. Other than Xing Tianzi and the elder who was about to attack secretly, everyone present was delighted. Damn it, this old fellow's vitality is so tenacious. The elder's expression turned icy cold once again. He lifted his head and looked at the sky. As he watched the even more terrifying lightning tribulation, a wisp of black quietly appeared in his hand. He wanted to wait for the second bolt of lightning to strike. Xing Tianzi's expression was also solemn as he stared at the sky. The following lightning tribulation was several times more powerful than the first round of lightning. It was even dozens or hundreds of times more powerful because the dark clouds in the sky were still gathering. They were almost 100,000 miles away. Once this lightning tribulation fell, the surrounding living beings were very likely to suffer as well. Retreat! Xing Tianzi said in a deep voice. With a wave of his hand, the formation of Nebula Sect was activated. The sect flew up and flew away. Rumble! The next round of heavenly lightning descended the moment the new cloud sect retreated out of the range. This time, the lightning was purple. The purple lightning was as thick as a mountain, forming a terrifying sea of lightning. No one could survive under the vast sea of lightning. Crack! A trace of lightning landed in front of Daoist Xingyun. Daoist Xingyun was sent flying. The silver light around his body was completely broken at this moment, now. When the elder saw this, a cold smile appeared on his face. The black chi in his hand silently flew out. No one noticed this trace of black gas at all. In an instant, the black gas arrived behind Daoist Xingyun. Daoist Xingyun felt his breathing freeze in his dantian, and then he could not move. The rolling lightning was about to drown him in an instant. Grandpa can't move. Xingling immediately noticed the abnormality and shouted, wanting to fly out and pull Daoist Xingyun back. Ling you can't. Xing Tianzi grabbed him back. Chapter 72, Chapter 72, Chapter 72 Great Vehicle Success. _L. Chapter 72, Chapter 72 Great Vehicle Success. _L. Ling, if you go now, you'll only be courting death. Xing Tianzi said. The lightning that filled the sky could even destroy the entire nebula sect, let alone Xingling, Xingling, was the future of the sect. She couldn't lose her life in vain. But grandfather, Xingling, was already crying anxiously. The crying seemed to be contagious. The elders looked at Daoist Xingyun who was under the lightning tribulation and fell silent. Farewell, ancestor. Xing Tianzi could only sigh as he thought to himself. Die. You should interfere with his lord's plan. As for the people of Nebula Sect, don't worry. Line up and come one by one. Zhang looked at Daoist Xingyun who was about to be drowned by the sea of lightning in the void with a cruel and cold smile. Daoist Xingyun was under the lightning tribulation. Facing the might of the brilliant lightning, even he was terrified. However, an old monster who had lived for 100,000 years did not live in vain. Is there any other way to save myself? Daoist Nebula did not roar at the sky to vent his anger, nor did he hate the villain who had secretly attacked him. Instead, he was thinking about how to survive and what other methods he had. Grandpa, quickly use the things that Big Brother gave you. Seeing that Daoist Xingyun was about to be drowned by the heavenly lightning, Xingling shouted out in a hurry. Those turtle shells. Upon hearing this, Daoist Nebula took out the remaining bottle of turtle shell ointment from his ring. He did not have time to think. It was an ointment anyway, so he poured it all over himself. Boom! In the next moment, heavenly lightning struck down. Ancestor! Countless people shouted in grief. The ancestor who had guarded the sect for 100,000 years had fallen just like that. Everyone was grieving. Farewell, ancestor. The elder who had secretly acted laughed in disdain and then shouted. His smiling face immediately turned into a crying face, disguising himself appropriately. Humph, my head. At this moment, an angry voice sounded. Everyone was shocked and looked at the lightning tribulation in disbelief. Thousands of thunderbolts as thick as mountains fell on Daoist Xingyun. However, a green light suddenly appeared around Daoist Xingyun. When the purple lightning bolt landed on the green light, it was actually reflected. Moreover, after the lightning came into contact with the green light, it seemed to be extremely afraid. It trembled for a moment and quickly disappeared. Everyone was dumbfounded. Although the heavenly lightning had disappeared, the heavenly Tao reward after the lightning tribulation did not disappear. A golden light shone down. Daoist Xingyun was bathed in the golden light, and the cultivation in his dantian became stronger. That wisp of black gas was crushed in an instant. Daoist Xingyun had broken through to the Mahayana realm. That's great. Grandfather is not dead. Big Brother is really amazing. Xingling smiled and praised Xiao Changtian. As for Xing Tianzi, he was so excited that his body was trembling. The ancestor had broken through, and Nebula Sect had one more Mahayana realm expert. Nebula Sect would be as stable as Mount Tai for the next hundreds of thousands of years. Woo! The old ancestor was mighty. The ancestor is domineering. Our ancestor is invincible. Cheers rang out. Everyone from Nebula Sect was extremely excited. Only the elder from before twitched his mouth and turned to run. Humph, come back. Daoist Xingyun, who had just broken through to the Mahayana realm, was covered in a layer of golden light. He was like a god. With a wave of his hand, a powerful suction force as strong as a mountain pulled the elder back. Under the pressure of Daoist Xingyun's aura, the elder trembled and felt that his soul no longer belonged to him. Ah! The elder let out a miserable cry. How could he not understand that Daoist Xingyun was searching his soul? As Daoist Nebula performed the soul-searching art, the skeletal man in the dark chamber suddenly stood up. In an instant, a ball of dim light was crushed by him. This dim light was the soul imprint of the elder of Nebula Sect. The soul imprint was crushed, and the elder was instantly swallowed by the black gas. Humph, the mastermind. Daoist Xingyun snorted and crushed the black gas. Seeing the elder being crushed, the elders knew that this person was a traitor. Moreover, when the ancestor was breaking through, he dared to attack in secret. He definitely deserved to die. Ancestor, congratulations on breaking through to the Mahayana realm. A group of elders gathered. Forefather, with you around, from now on, our Nebula sect will be the #1 sect on the continent. That's right. It's time for you to take back the title of the Great Emperor from that junior, Mu Jiuhuang. The elders said excitedly. The old ancestor had broken through to the Dashang realm and could completely defeat Mu Jiuhuang, who was at the 9th stage of the tribulation passing realm. Countless people were fighting to regain the title of the #1 sect on the continent. However, Daoist Xingyun shook his head. Fellow Daoist 9 Phoenix, you have already broken through to the Mahayana realm before me. Don't mention this matter again. What is it? 9 Phoenix Great Emperor has broken through to the Dashang realm? This. When did this happen? When everyone heard this, their faces revealed incomparably shocked expressions. Some people even began to ease the awkward situation. Even if we don't take the #1 sect on the continent, we're still not much different from the #1 sect. Am I right, everyone? That's right. My Nebula sect is not weaker than the 9 Phoenix dynasty. Oh right, ancestor, what was that magic treasure from before? Even the Mahayana stage lightning tribulation is difficult to approach. Everyone cheered up once again, and the awkward atmosphere was once again eased. Then, they asked about Daoist Xingyun's bottle of ointment. That was a medicine that senior casually concocted. From now on, when you see this senior, you must never offend him. Otherwise, our Nebula sect will be in trouble. Everyone, remember to distribute the portrait of senior. Anyone who offends senior will be expelled from Nebula sect. Daoist Xingyun explained while condensing Xiao Changtian's portrait in the void with his spiritual power. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.